Welcome back to the Nintendo Prime Podcast, episode 49, as my dog is barking. I will go deal with him in a moment. I am your host, as always, Nintendo Rebel Janc. To my left, in the middle, your guys' right a little bit, is Mr. Eric Moore. Hello. And then our co-host, as always, right now, Mr. Nintendo Academy, Mike Perez. How's it going, buddy?
I think you still have your mic muted.
Are you still muted over there, buddy? Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, it's our fault because his mic comes through.
I was still muted, yeah.
Yeah, his mic comes through our same channel as our music, so.
Keep the banter going. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody. How you doing? Hey, everybody in the chat. Hey, everybody on the podcast.
Ooh, yeah. Hooray for barking dogs. What? Oh, he's trying to run the podcast with us? What? I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess... Since Nate's taking care of his dog,
Eric Winstead.
What? Oh, Eric Winstead. Yeah,
shout out on the.
Yeah, and apparently I'm going to shout out to him too, also for joining the rank of champion.
Awesome.
Thank you for your support of the channel. I guess we can, since Nate's saying just keep going. I guess we can start with what we've been playing lately. And Mike, what have you been playing lately?
So I've been playing a lot of Switch sports. I mean, like a whole lot of Switch sports, and believe it or not, I'm actually enjoying it. And I'm in this battle on this battle with myself basically, with in Twitter. People say, "Oh wait, no, Wii Sports is a whole lot better." I'm like, "What? Why is it better? Because it was free?"
I mean, yeah.
that makes
help.
it better. Man, I believe that people think it's better because for me, I feel like it's when it first came out, the Wiimote was like the first of its kind where you actually do the movement to bowl or the tennis, right? That wow factor you got when you actually played a game and and you had to make the movements in order to play that game, right?
Right. So
now, of course, it's an easy comparison. But for me, I feel like Nintendo Switch Sports kind of improved on that,
Gotcha.
Not only the graphics, not only how beautiful it looks, not only how I think it's the movements are a lot smoother, the Joy-Cons are a lot better to hold in your hand.
They respond a little bit better.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at. I understand the Switch Wii Sports is very nostalgic. It's like a good game. But in my opinion, I believe Switch Sports is an upgrade. It is an upgrade too.
Nice. I haven't played it yet. But.
Yeah, and I've also been playing this right here.
What does he got? What does he got?
Ah,
nice.
That little guy right there. This is by the way, the people who are hearing, I'm holding up what do you call this thing again? Game & Watch.
The Game & Watch, yeah.
Gaming Watch. Yeah, this is the Mario one. I have this other one over there.
Nice.
Sweet.
Nice.
All right, to have it in your pocket, just take it out whenever you're in like a doctor's appointment, whatever. Just start playing.
Yeah, right.
What, you mean the Switch doesn't fit in your pocket?
No.
I got pretty big pockets.
You gotta get bigger pockets.
I just take the Joy-Con off and then it slides in one pocket.
And to be honest, I've never taken this anywhere. No doctor's office or anything.
So it's like, to give you an example, this is a great thing to use it. A thing that I totally never use it at.
Yeah, right. I mean, he's not wrong though. It is great to take along somewhere if you wanted to go.
I mean, yeah, maybe.
That was just a promo. This is a promo. It's sponsored by Game & Watch.
Yeah, right. Did you guys also see that apparently people haven't learned from Wii Sports as well?
Oh yeah,
we've already had a couple people crack their TVs. It's like, guys, come on. One, don't be dumb. Two, there's a wrist strap for a reason.
I mean, we went through this. I try to be fair. A lot of people have not played Wii Sports since like 2009.
I mean, yeah.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
And some of these people playing now have never played it. They're new.
Yeah, but I'm also pretty sure that Nintendo also wants
those
to put
straps
a
suck.
wrist strap.
Those straps suck. I'm
sorry.
They just, like on Wii, they're just on all the time. They're like a little loophole thing. On Switch, you have to remember to put them on. Yeah, I know the game reminds you, but like you slide them on, and sometimes you slide them on the wrong way, and then they're really hard to get off, and it's just they're very badly designed.
Yeah.
So I don't blame people for like forgetting to put them on because whatever. I think the Joy-Con are easier to chuck than the Wii.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, that Joy-Con was that the big, giant, heavy thing that you hold in your hand. I know. So my argument is that Nintendo Switch Sports is as good as Wii when it comes to breaking TVs.
Yeah,
I think it's worse.
It's worse. It breaks more TVs.
I don't like even when people were saying they were breaking TVs, it wasn't like day one.
Well,
I mean,
this is day one. Guys are on live stream. Oh yeah, and whoosh, fuck. Like,
right?
oh, you broke your TV, didn't you?
Whoops.
Yeah, it's. So I haven't had a chance to play Switch Sports myself yet because just got a free copy because Mike over there not only generously donated it to me, he it was kind of an unintentional donation. It was whoops, I ordered it twice and it's a digital code. I can't return digital codes. I don't know what to do. He could have gave it away to his own, but he's like, hey, you didn't buy this yet, right? And I'm like, no, not yet. I was going to though. Like, oh, here you go. Here's the code. So I haven't actually fired it up yet. I did play Kirby. Again, still not done, but I am in the final area. I did confirm I'm in the final area, so I'm almost done with the main story anyways, and then get into all the extras asides. I know Eric over there still can't beat the final.
Oh no, I tried again.
Final arena.
That's the only thing I've played this last week, and I still cannot beat that third.
What's so difficult about the final stage? Because I'm not to it yet.
No spoilers because I haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, it's just the final boss is just a pain in the ass on it.
Okay.
That's all.
Can you not figure it out?
That's
Usually it's all patterns and timing. You can't figure it out.
He hits for massive damage, and they don't.
Well, you can't figure out his pattern? You should be able to avoid it. Almost all bosses in Nintendo games especially have like a pattern. When you figure out the pattern, it becomes not too difficult.
Yeah.
And did you know that those little stars issue more damage than whatever power you're using? If you grab those little stars, you
that's true.
It's more power, more damage you get to issue to each boss. Yeah. So that's right. That's how I've gotten through bosses like nothing. Mm-hmm. They recommend little power ups, but you know what? No, I'll just take those little stars and just blow back at them.
Yeah.
Faster.
One thing I will recommend too is if you don't need to power up some of your powers, don't, because at the end there you can. Okay, do I go farther than that? But
okay. So I know what you're talking about, and anyone who's gotten that far in the game knows. What I don't understand is it should be possible to get all that stuff without him. You should be able to level everything up. Max.
Fully, you'd figure, but
I bet you can.
There's a lot of rare stones that I can't. I've pretty sure I've gotten pretty much 100%.
Have you 100%ed all the side quests? Have you found all the secret codes?
I'm pretty sure I've looked online and
you just looked it up.
Why wouldn't I?
Oh, you don't want to put in the work the way the game tells you to. You want to use a guidebook, Eric?
Pretty sure I've entered in all the ones that have had.
Wait. Did you say guidebook? Guidebook?
No, I just looked online.
Old school.
And I mean, we've been around for guidebooks, but
I don't. Did they even release one with this game? I don't even know.
I don't like it. I'm against it. I'm against guidebooks.
What do you got against guidebooks?
I'm the kind of person who loves puzzles, who love to solve things for themselves. So I like to figure things out. Like I beat Breath of the Wild, the entire game without any type of guide or any type of help. I want to find things on my own. I think that's part of the fun, right?
Mm-hmm. Do you have something against people that use guidebooks?
No, not at all.
I was gonna say because some people.
I'm not that guy.
Yeah, because like some people are like, oh yeah, that just takes away from the game. It's like for you, but not everyone plays for the same reasons.
Exactly.
Some people will be like, hey, here's what's going to happen if I don't use a guide to get past this part. I'm going to stop playing, and then I'm never getting back to this game because their back catalog just keeps growing and growing, and they just know, hey, I'm never going to finish this game if I don't look this up.
Well, one biggest thing that I have against them is, especially back in the day when you got the Primo ones, that there were sometimes information there that was completely wrong. And you're like, wait, what? Why? Why is this not working?
Dude, I love that.
Oh, because it's not right.
I love that.
Oh, yeah. And thank you, Sean, too, for that suggestion of just grinding the Coliseum. That's true. I never thought about that.
There you go.
Yeah. Just grind the other earlier stages because those are super freaking easy.
There you go. See, there's a way.
Yeah.
You just got to think outside the box.
Yeah.
It's not really that outside the box.
No, it's really not.
If it's something that you can grind, then grind it. Anyways, so again, I'm not to that point in the game yet, but I am getting there. will be there probably by the end of this week, and then it'll be fun to see how I'm going to finish off that game and how far I want to go, because I don't think I'm going to 100% it. I will be close, but I don't think I'm actually going to end up 100% it, only because now I've got Nintendo Switch Sports, which I wasn't planning to have yet. Thanks, Mike.
Exactly.
So I'm going to move on to playing some of that probably once I'm refusing to boot it up until I'm done till I've at least completed the story in Kirby. But I'm probably doing some more, and then I'll get into Switch Sports, because we got a little bit here in terms of exclusives. We don't have anything technically coming until June now.
Yeah.
So got a little bit of a break here.
That's Lego Star Wars for me.
Yeah, Lego Star Wars. Yeah, that's the thing too. I got that, and I got to finish up. I got some back catalog games I got to get to, including Lego. I got to get back to that. But yeah, so it was just Kirby for me this past week. Not really much else. I'm watching NBA playoff games in my free time, and yeah, we did a little Madden today because they did the draft, so updated the roster and all that stuff. But yeah, nothing too special that I was in. Not a lot of gaming happening this time of the year. Now, this time of the year next year, I fully suspect I'll still be playing Breath of the Wild 2. So that'd be a totally different story then, because it'll probably be almost a full-time job with how much I'm going to be playing that game. But that's next year. Now, we actually have some really big topics to get into this week. I guess we're going to start off with one which it's kind of a multi-tiered topic. We're going to be talking about Square Enix, because a lot of interesting things are happening with that company. The one factual thing we know is they sold off a bunch of their Western stuff, their Western studios and IPs, to Embracer Group, who spent $300 million to acquire Eidos Interactive, Crystal Dynamics, Square Enix Montreal. Those are 3 development studios, along with the IPs Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, and Thief. Those were all controlled by Square Enix, and now they sold for $300 million, which obviously isn't much. We'll talk about the money here in a moment. Square Enix did publicly say what they plan to do with the $300 million, which is weird. They don't have to tell us what you're going to spend your money on, but I guess for some reason they wanted to tell the public and thought this would be a positive spin. I'm not really sure. But they plan to use that $300 million, and this is to quote, to establish a more efficient allocation of resources and enable the launch of new businesses by moving forward with investments in fields including blockchain, AI, and the cloud, which is, of course, all things that gamers really want to hear a game company is going to do, just keep going into the direction that literally no one's asking them to. The beginning of that's whatever. When we talk about a more efficient allocation of resources, that is, hey, these things we sold aren't as profitable as we want them to be, so goodbye. Which Square Enix has had pretty unrealistic expectations of things like Tomb Raider, expecting it to do some sort of sales that Tomb Raider's never done. So it kind of weird, but Tomb Raider itself was actually profitable for them. That's why we got like 2-3 of them. But there is a rumor out there that the last 2 games done by these studios, including the Avengers and then Guardians of the Galaxy, actually lost them $200 million. Which might have spurned the sale, but that's still a rumor, but we can't confirm that. But that report is out there that they lost $200 million on those 2 games, which kind of sucks because Guardians of the Galaxy is actually pretty good.
Yeah, it's good. But
it got hurt, I think, by the Avengers. It set a bad taste in people's mouth, so they didn't want to give Guardians a chance. That's unfortunate, but it's what happens when you have linked franchises and you start off with a big one. Maybe you shouldn't start off with the Avengers first. Maybe, I don't know. The movies didn't start off that way. Maybe you should just nail the individual games and then get to the combo game. But they went the opposite direction, and it didn't really work out. Now, Embracer Group, people are like, man, Embracer Group sounds, I think I've heard them before. You have, actually. They own a number of fairly substantial studios. These include Gearbox Software. A lot of people know about Gearbox. THQ Nordic. Remember all the news about THQ Nordic, or Nordic was buying all these THQ properties? Yeah, they're all owned by Embracer Group. THQ or Nordic was not the parent company. It was Embracer Group. Saber Interactive. Koch Media. Deep Silver. Coffee Stain Studios. And they actually recently bought the comic book publisher Dark Horse, which anyone in the comic book sphere will know who Dark Horse is. No, I don't know if they own all the Dark Horse IPs. You know, the IP rights always vary, but it's just interesting because, and they own a lot more. If you actually look up Embracer Group, their portfolio is so large, I could spend 2 hours reading off all the things they own. But what's interesting is that all the companies they own have done mostly positive things that gamers like. And so that, I think, has people feeling a little bit better about the sale, thinking, you know what? This might ultimately be a good thing, because if Square Enix didn't really care about these studios and these IP, maybe Embracer Group does. Mm-hmm. And maybe as Switch people, a lot of those companies I listed have released games on Switch. So maybe Switch is going to get a bit more attention, because maybe that was a potential missed market for some of these games. Okay. Especially if they want to like take the old school Tomb Raider trilogy, not like the old school, and the last one they did, which ran on 360, PS3, PS4. Maybe they decide they want to re-release those on Switch. Well, you know, there's always wishful thinking there. On top of all of that, actually, let's stop there first, because this is a multi-tiered thing. We were going to get into something Sony might be doing with Square Enix, but let's first talk about the sale of the IP, and you know, if we're happy with Embracer Group, and what our thoughts are. Like, $300 million doesn't sound like a lot. For these IPs and 3 development studios. Like, we're talking, look, yeah, maybe we're a bit numb because of the other sales that have gone on out there, but like, they paid more money, like Sony paid more money just for Bungie, who has a single IP. Just one. They literally control one IP. That is it. And somehow sold for more money than 3 development studios and Thief, Tomb Raider, and whatever, Deus Ex.
Yeah.
Like, that to me sounds crazy.
But I mean, and especially considering the fact that it was only $300 million when it's possible that 2 games lost them $200 million. That's just insane. That
yeah, it's like, oh, we lost $200 million on that. Well, then what was the revenue on the other games? Like, you know, why isn't this at least half a bill or a bit? Like, it's crazy. I mean, great for Embracer Group, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of people thinking, man, $300 million, no one would bid higher. I don't think anyone knew they were even for sale. It's possible. It was like a privately shopped thing, obviously. I'm sure what it was Embracer Group reached out, and Square's like, hell yeah, here you go. There probably wasn't even negotiations with other companies.
We hear these rumors that you're gonna be bought, and do you want to offload anything here before you go that route?
So, what are your thoughts, Mike?
That's possible. They wanted to, I don't know, make some money on the side before they were bought by a.
We'll get to that in a moment. That's the big topic.
But then again, I mean, Embracer was the winner here. Embracer Group is the winner here. I think they got some good IPs on their hand that if they play them right, they develop them right. If they have the right developers with the right passion on the job, because that's all it takes. A good developer with passion makes good games. You know what I mean? Because a developer with a passion is not going to release a bad game. They're not gonna have that name attached to that game. So Embracer has a whole bunch of companies that they could put to work with these IPs. Oh yeah, you know. And,
they've got 10,000 developers now under their umbrella.
So 300 million. Even though 300 million is, I mean, it's still so little compared to, you know what I mean? Yeah. They're gonna make a good profit. That's what I think here. They're gonna make a really good profit. Square Enix is not the Square Enix I know and love. They stopped being that for a while now. I think they shined more in the PS1 era, PS2 era, PS3. But ever since then, something has been wrong with them, and so let's see what happens. But yeah, I'm all for Embracer Groups. I think I'm on their side right now, and I'm happy they got their deal there. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, and I think along with this, they announced like there's a new Tomb Raider in development or something like that as well, which is pretty far off, but.
Yeah. But
it's a positive news.
By the same group?
But yeah, by Creative, I believe.
Okay.
But the same. Yeah, Crystal Dynamics. Sorry. Yeah, they're the ones working on it.
Tomb Raider needs a revival. They need a revival. You know, they need something to.
I think they just needed more dedication from Square. I think that last trilogy they did was really damn good, and I don't know why they didn't give it more recognition and more marketing and.
Exactly, the marketing. That's what I'm saying. That's what I mean. It needs a fire to be lit under it.
You released that baby on Switch before the next one. Come on now.
They should. Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure Embracer's going to take these IPs and whatever they have done already, they're going to milk them some way or another. They're going to use them.
Definitive Ultimate Edition Plus.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. They're going to
for next gen.
Yeah.
$70. Like it's a brand new game.
I mean, I'm surprised they won't hand that over to Gearbox. I mean, with what they've done with Borderlands and stuff.
Well, you gotta
like
understand, Crystal Dynamics is the studio that made those games.
Yeah,
and they own that studio. So why would they just have this?
No,
studio
I know.
continue to make them?
Well, because maybe we can actually get a boost in the series. Yeah.
What have you? Well, see, you haven't played those Tomb Raider games.
I haven't played Tomb Raider since PS1.
Yeah. So
I mean,
like,
there is also that too.
There's nothing. Basically, there's absolutely nothing wrong with the new Tomb Raider series, like at all.
I just love me some Gearbox.
They're all very good. Well, you like Borderlands. Yeah. Let's just be honest. See, like Gearbox. Have you played anything? But you have their page. Have you played anything but Borderlands from them? I just want to clarify. It's a single IP you like that's nothing like Tomb Raider, and that's the company you want to make Tomb Raider.
Else there is.
I'm just clarifying here. Duke Nukem.
Half-Life. I played some Tony Hawk.
Tony Hawk is one.
Yeah.
They don't actually own Half-Life, just to be clear. But they did develop it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically Borderlands.
Yeah. Still. Yeah.
So you want a company that makes a shooter to make an action adventure game.
Why not?
I got some breaking news for you here.
Oh boy.
Oh.
NFT market collapsed just as Square Enix sells Tomb Raider to get big on blockchain.
The NFT market's been collapsing for like a month. Like it's not even new.
That's hilarious.
There was that one guy who bought. I forgot what it is. It was some rich guy who bought an NFT, and when he went to sell it, he thought he was going to get $100 million for it because he paid like $2.5 million or something like that for it. He thought he was going to get $100 million. He said, "Yeah, I'm going to give 30% of profits to this one charity." And then when he went to sell it, he couldn't get anything bigger than $200,000 offered for it. So he actually lost money, and now he isn't giving anything to charity. And it's like, yeah, that should have been the sign that NFTs, maybe the only people that cared were the people that had the money that wanted to make money off of it.
Man.
The general populace didn't really seem to be buying NFTs, and guess what? When you buy an NFT and you're like, "Oh, I'm going to sell it for $100 million," well, that already eliminates the general populace, which means you're only going to sell to other rich people. And guess what? Rich people are smart.
Yeah,
they're rich for a reason, and they stay rich for a reason.
Well, and the fact
they're not going to buy $100 million digital image or rights to view a digital image.
Well, and the fact that NFTs aren't like. There are plenty of NFTs out there that aren't. You can just copy and paste. They aren't like blocked from being able to multiply.
No, it was like one that's like, "Oh yeah, I took a screenshot of a tweet."
Yeah,
and that's what I'm selling.
Yeah, right.
But you don't even own the tweet. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, right.
I own that screenshot that I hit print screen on. Like I just look. We talked about this before. NFTs do have a small use case for digital artists.
Yeah.
And them getting perpetual revenue on a piece of art they created for somebody through commission. That's fine. I understand getting a perpetual income off of that for a digital artist. It's like one of the few cases that I think NFTs legitimately have a use. But the way that they're being used as a for-profit scheme is never good. The way that video game companies are all, we're going to get into, you could theoretically buy this and bring it to the next. And guess what? Ubisoft released a game that was all NFTs, and that game's been shit canned. And all you people that spent money on NFTs in that game, they're all worthless now.
But remember, with Ubisoft's president saying, "We don't know what we're missing. We don't know."
A lot of it, and I think even here with the blockchain investment from Square, a lot of it is that companies, and these are all for-profit companies. Remember that they care ultimately about the dollar, not necessarily about us. They're trying to figure out what the next fad's going to be that they can milk.
Oh yeah,
Battle Royale was like the last big. Oh yeah, everybody get on this. Everyone get on this. Let's make lots and lots of money. And honestly, it's like 4 games that today ultimately made it and make a shitload. Maybe 5. I kept thinking you still H1Z1 kind of got lucky. They were like the ones that started it, but it ended up not being a huge profit maker for them. But they're the ones that the initial idea started getting popular. Then PUBG's still kicking around right now. Fortnite and Call of Duty Warzone, and I think Apex Legends. Those are like the big 4 that have been able to stick around and make a lot of money doing it. I mean, Fortnite turned Epic into a several billion-dollar company like overnight. It was insane. They were not necessarily ready for that success. But whatever, they're doing fine now. Mm-hmm. It's a matter of all these companies want to make sure they don't miss out on the next boat. They want to get there before it gets big. And a lot of them thought NFTs, Web 3.0 and all this, like, we got to get in on this now because this is going to be the next big thing. And I think what these people fail to realize, and I talked about this on a live stream earlier, is that Square Enix, go ahead and throw $300 million at a blockchain. Let me tell you something. To get in on what's next, you have to recognize a trend that hasn't hit the mass market yet that people actually want. Mm-hmm. When the only people talking about NFTs are rich people trying to make money, you're not going to make money off that because the general populace isn't talking about it. Mm-hmm. PUBG recognized that, hey, there's actually, like, the player count is increasing in this H1Z1 game through this one mode. Why, like, this is an underbelly trend of a game that's not very popular, but, like, why on Steam did it go from 1,000 players? Like, this game was dead, and now it's got 1,000 players. And a month later, it's got 10,000. A month later, it's got 15. What is that? Let's look at that and figure out what they're doing, try to do it better, and market ourselves in a way that that's just all our game is. And they did that. And then Fortnite, Epic saw that and said, hey, let's now add building and do something else to it and try to make it more compatible with every system on the planet with our art style and go from there. And it just, everything kind of exploded. There was a recognition of an underbelly trend in the industry. And what happens with these for-profit companies sometimes is they look at, hey, we see potential that we can make shitloads of money here, but the potential is based on the fact that all it does is make us a shitload of money. It doesn't actually provide. If we have to argue why a gamer would want to use it, then it's already a failed product.
Right.
Gamers, the things that get popular in this industry just click. It just clicks. Like Pokemon Go. There was a good thought that Pokemon Go would work because it's not the first AR game in existence. There had been, obviously, Nintendo played around with AR on the 3DS a little bit, so the Nintendo fans were already sort of introduced to AR a bit. And they had already released another game, Niantic had, with AR that actually had a moderate level of success that showed, hey, if we had a bigger IP with this might be something huge. And it was, recognizing an underbelly trend. All these companies did is go, hey, all the smart people out there that are spending money on this stuff are telling us it's a way to get rich quick. Except none of them could explain why the common user would go buy an NFT. Because all of them said we want to resell our NFTs for millions. Well, that already eliminates the common user. Mm-hmm. So what? It just ended up being this stupid get rich quick scheme. And what's funny is the NFT stuff's crashing now because the whole point was that it was unregulated and that was made it so good. No one could track the blockchain. And guess what? The government's caught on to the fact that it's also being used to money launder, and it's being used to money launder really badly. Like billions of dollars are being money laundered right now through cryptocurrency and the blockchain. Mm-hmm. And so what the government's realized is, hey, we got to start finding a way to regulate this stuff. And because the regulations are now in the lawmaking process, everyone's trying to dump and get out because regulation is going to kill it. So it was stupid.
Well, I mean, there's a whole lot of cryptocurrencies that have been just crazy amounts, like pump and dump, where the creators of them inflate the prices, so a whole bunch of people buy in, and then
the pump and dump cryptocurrencies drop. Let me tell you guys, if you want to get into crypto, get into the big ones, and that's it.
Yeah.
Ethereum, Bitcoin, something like that. We got this new coin. Just stop.
I mean, if you put a small amount of money in it.
No, I'll say this. There are people that did get rich quick off Dogecoin. That was like a very unique situation. Mm-hmm. And guess what? The price is just going down and down and down. If you didn't get out already, you probably aren't making anything. It's.
I didn't get rich, but I made quite a good. I made good money with Dogecoin and with Shiba.
Yeah.
So I was in early, and I was
if you got in early, it was well worth it.
Yeah, very early. My Dogecoin, it was still under a cent. So and then Shiba,
of course. Did you cash out when it hit like 40 cents?
I did. I cashed out. No, I cashed out when I waited until like 28 cents. and then cash out on Dogecoin.
Well, that's the thing.
And
You got to choose the right time to cash out because it's going to crash quick. When people think it's peaked, everyone tries to cash out and then it just crashes.
Yeah, it's a fad. You just have to learn how to recognize the fad, not like a long-term investment. You just invest, get out, and continue. It's like
and that's the thing with these NFTs. All these game companies think that it is just it's going to be a fad that we're going to catch on and make millions. Except no one's actually talking about it in the general populous world. So it's not really a fad. It's a fad that we get spam botted with it. It's a fad that, hey, guess what? My YouTube channel back in October got hacked by Shiba Inu and did this whole Elon Musk thing that wasn't even technically about cryptocurrency, but it became about cryptocurrency to try to get people to steal money. And it's like all that's happened is nobody ever talks about it except for the negative, which means it's not something people want. Mm-hmm. And these companies just keep thinking it's going to be the future. And it's like, no. Some of them missed out on the mobile game fad. So now, hey, they didn't get in on that. So now they struggle, like Nintendo struggles to get into it. So these companies are like, well, what's going to be the next one? What's going to be the next big money maker? And it's like, you need to recognize things that are already happening that people just aren't aware of in mass scale yet. And that's what you need to get onto. And NFTs was not one of those things that general everyday consumer was given two shits about.
So, question. NFTs have to do only with images on the internet, correct? Or is it anything digital?
It's pretty much anything digital. You got to be a little careful because NFTs themselves aren't anything. It's a digital spot in a line in a blockchain server. You don't actually own the image. Now, artists have been using it to sell some rights to the image, and that's fine. That's up to the artist. But you don't actually own the image or own the digital good. So let's say it's not an image. Let's say it is a hat in a game, right? That's a little bit more than an image. That's like a 3D model. Okay, well, you still don't actually own that 3D model. The originating company who made it still owns that 3D model. You don't actually own it. And it's only has value, and you're only able to, quote-unquote, sell it if they allow you to, because it's not yours.
So where I see something in the line of NFT being successful is in when it comes to digital games. I believe every digital game individually should be turned into something in that sort where it's in a blockchain and you own that digital game. You can take it with you wherever you want. You know what I mean? So it's like you buy a digital game, because right now if you buy a physical game, it's still a licensed product that Nintendo is still giving you permission to use, but at least you can take it with you to the next console. Let's say this is a future console, not right now. Nothing exists that could actually manage that. But if in the future Nintendo decides to do something in that sort where they can give you like your own blockchain or whatever, where you can actually hold your digital products from Nintendo there, your digital games or digital things that you have that you can bring along with you to the next console in the future, that then I see a future in that when it comes to gaming, but not images, not something.
How do you? I got a question for you. I'm trying to understand your concept. So you own like this section that lets you stick your digital games in, like a locker.
Yeah.
But how does that suddenly make it work with the next platform? It would need development time by the people who actually own it to make it work on the next platform.
Yeah, that's why I say it's a future technology. It's like a future concept where if Nintendo does issue like a type of blockchain thing where you can actually buy your digital game and still hold it and have it there, even buy and sell digital games. You buy because you can't sell a digital game right now unless you sell the entire account. But if you want to buy your digital game and sell your digital game, that digital game can actually increase in price over time as well. And this could be what the future, when let's say Nintendo goes digital all the way, no more in physical.
Game companies. Oh, sorry. Keep going.
Yeah, this could be a way moving forward on how we can actually, in a way, own our digital games and be able to trade or sell our digital games digitally. You know what I mean?
I don't know that they'll ever give you a way to own a digital game, just like we technically don't own the physical game. We own a license.
But at least you can sell the physical game. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, sure. But it's still a license. The whole reason they don't give you the ownership rights to a digital copy, which technically you don't with a physical copy either, is because you're talking about just the pure files at that point, because they're not actually on anything.
Mm-hmm.
So like to own the files would be like, oh, I bought this game and now I own the rights to this game, which means you now own the characters, you own everything inside the game, and you don't actually. You only own the license to play. Now there are stores, digital stores, that do let you resell your license.
Yeah.
So you can resell your game, but I don't know why we need NFTs for that.
And also, game companies already hate the fact that we can sell physical games. Why would they give us an opportunity to sell digital games?
And they could just resell the physical games themselves and make more money.
They
I don't know what the benefit
fact,
is to the company.
I mean, I don't know how many.
They can always take a cut. Make it just like in the license of a physical game. You can actually sell the game. I'm pretty sure it's within that license of that physical game that you own.
Sure, but would like Nintendo in this case make more money just selling another copy of the game digitally without eliminating you entirely?
They can, and they have the option to. But if they want to, maintain that feeling in their customers of them, owning something, just like we have our collections of games in the background of our sets or our collections of something. If they want to maintain that thing of a collectible, then that's a good business model to have a collectible thing. If you can collect this. If you're gonna sell it, then we'll take a cut. Because basically, in order to sell it, you still have to go through them because they're the ones managing the entire area. It's like a buy and sell store. You can list that digital asset on their store.
House.
Yeah, exactly. You can list that auction on their digital store, and then
I just don't know why we need an NFT for that. There's already because we already have there are already digital storefronts that let us do this.
Yeah, that's why I ask what a NFT is. If it's just a digital asset.
I know you were trying to save for digital. I kind of look at it like this. This is why I said NFTs. I understand them being good for artists, because everything else I see that has a positive, like you were mentioning with the NFT. Oh, look, we could do this, we could do that. We don't necessarily need an NFT to do any of that. That just sounds like they don't need the blockchain. It's not going to be a blockchain. It's going to be their server.
Yeah, exactly.
So it wouldn't technically even fit the definition of an NFT, which is technically on a server that nobody controls because it's everyone's computer is part of the network.
Yeah, of course.
Nobody has control except in this case, obviously the company has damn control. So I always found that funny too. We're going to invest in the blockchain. Oh, we're going to release an NFT game. But I'm like, is it really considered an NFT if you own the server and you control the market? That's the opposite of what NFTs are.
Yeah, and removing the word NFT and blockchain, I'm just talking about digital assets, like way to buy, sell digital assets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Way to buy, sell, and collect digital assets. This isn't a future where Nintendo or anybody else is
Square
no longer
Enix in this case.
Yeah.
Physical games. Yeah.
No, I get you.
And I look at it like this: all these game companies only care about this is to what they can do to maximize their own money. And people reselling games, the whole reason we can't do it is because it's not maximizing their profits. Even if they got a cut, we just rather just make a remastered version and have you pay 3 times as much again.
Yeah. But what if they have to have a membership to Nintendo Online?
What about it? You don't own any of that. That's just a service.
The extra expansion pack that includes your owning your own digital games and buying and selling and trading.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to do that. People aren't going to pay a fee for the right to trade.
Buy and sell, trade.
Yeah, I don't think people are going to pay a fee for that. But hey, you never know. We're talking about a hypothetical future. Yeah. In the end, all of this just sounds like slimy shit that's going to get taken advantage of, and all of us lose in the end. I understand there's a point that, my digital library has value. I'm like, okay, and?
And now my digital library just got hacked and I'm fucked.
There's all that too. God forbid you're trading on a market where the fucking server gets hacked. Holy shit, that would suck. That's blockchain's unhackable. Okay, guys. Yeah, now you just told hackers that, this is unhackable. Yeah, except the hackers have come out and said, are you kidding me? Oh, just because nobody owns it and there's no centralized, you don't think we can get into that database? Are you kidding me? Just wait. Go ahead and run some real banking through it. Watch what happens. Oh, yeah. And guess what happened? Because all the cryptocurrency runs on it. And guess what? A popular cryptocurrency got hacked 3 months ago. Guess what? Being on a blockchain doesn't actually make it unhackable. You know why they did it? Just to prove that blockchains aren't unhackable. Mm-hmm. Was it a bit more difficult? Sure. Only because people haven't been doing it. It's kind of like there's less viruses on Macs, not because it's not possible to make all the viruses on Macs, but because more people are using PC, so they focus the viruses on PC users.
Oh, 100%.
There's more viruses on Android phones than there is on... it's all about going where the majority of people are, but that doesn't mean...
Well, also
guess what? Oh, yeah, iPhone can't be hacked. I know people with hacked iPhones.
Well, and also to be fair, too, that Apple's a little bit more choosy of what they allow through their store.
Well, they have a more closed platform, and there's a few lawsuits about how closed off it is out there, but either way, it doesn't mean it's unhackable.
They got all the right.
For sure.
They got all the right. It's their house. If you don't like it, get out. That's it.
Yeah. But anyways... to expand on this, though, obviously the $300 million, sell a bunch of Square Enix stuff, and then Jeff Grubb, I kind of feel bad for the guy. So he makes a comment on his podcast, but whispers he's heard, but that's all it is. It doesn't really mean anything. It's not a real report. It's not something he would even make a news article on. Yeah. But because it's Jeff Grubb, and because he has real inside sources, a lot of people ran with it, and he clarified this on Twitter because he really got mad. Because a lot of people were saying Jeff Grubb said Sony is buying Square Enix.
Yeah.
Which isn't what he said. He said he heard it's a potential possibility. And he noted on Twitter when he angrily responded to these articles popping up saying that he said, no, that's not... I did not say Sony's buying Square Enix. I hinted that it's a possibility. You want to talk about the possibility and say you heard it from me first, fine. But you want to say definitively Sony's buying Square Enix and Jeff Grubb said so. That's not what's happening. Mm-hmm. But he put out there, and he talked about prior sales that have happened, and he said, all of us journalists have been digging and digging and digging to get information on what the next company is that's going to be for sale. And he said the hard part is any leak that's legit, that has real information tied to it, not speculative. The Sony buying Square Enix is a bit speculative. But anything that's got real information, I heard from this source at this company that this sale is happening. Guess what happens? That actually breaches all the contracts of the sale, and it can't happen. Yep. Which is why we don't hear about that's why Activision Blizzard came out of left field. Guess what? That's because nobody can talk about it before it gets announced. Mm-hmm. That's the way it goes. So Sony might be buying Square Enix, and he's heard whispers, and that's all he's going to hear until it gets announced. Mm-hmm. Now, I do find it interesting because we obviously know Sony and Square Enix have a very tight relationship. Very tight. Sony's been paying for exclusivity rights with various Square Enix games for a long time, or advertising rights. Next Final Fantasy's exclusively on their platform. Yeah. You know that Sony paints stupid amounts of money for that. Final Fantasy VII, they made sure, hey, that ain't going anywhere, that we're not letting it go. Mm-hmm. It's us. We'll let PC users dabble with it a bit, but it's us. Xbox, too bad. Oh, Nintendo Switch? That's cool. You guys can go have the original Final Fantasy VII. We're on the cool version now. You're not getting this. Just so you know, we paid a lot of money. It ain't happening. Even though it's not even their IP. But it doesn't matter. As long as Square Enix is willing to take the check, that's what happens. So,
and a whole lot of other companies too.
Yeah. This happens all the time. I mean, we haven't had a Call of Duty necessarily go exclusive, but there used to be advertising marketing. Xbox used to pay a lot of money to get the exclusive marketing deals. So every commercial has the Xbox logo at the end and extra content on our system. And that used to be a big thing. Then Sony had that right for a year. That became Xbox. Why aren't you paying my? Because maybe they realized it wasn't worth the money. But but yeah, there's these exclusivity deals happen all the time. I mean, Nintendo's paying for exclusive, Bayonetta 3, Astral Chain. The Wonderful 101. All those platinum things. Hey, guess what? Nintendo paid money for that stuff. Now, Nintendo owns some rights to some of it. They don't actually own Bayonetta. Just so you guys know, Sega is actually the ones who own the Bayonetta IP, for those that are curious about that. Not even Platinum Games. But what's interesting is I can totally believe that Sony would try to buy Square Enix. If Square Enix just sold those studios for $300 million, that to me tells me, and I looked at the market value of Square Enix, it's really not as big as people might think. Sony could easily buy them out, and if anyone's going to buy them out, it's going to be a Japanese company.
Yeah.
Because it's easier for Japanese companies to acquire Japanese companies than it is for outsiders to. So, do we think Sony's actually going to do this? They're already throwing shitloads of money at them.
Wouldn't surprise me.
I think it'd be one of the least shocking purchases just because of how close they work together all the time.
Yeah, I mean, with how many games that they have that they've paid to.
And since Square is only caring about the biggest money makers they have, and guess what? All the biggest money makers they have are the crap that Sony's paying them for.
Yeah. No, it would not surprise me at all.
I mean, as a Nintendo owner, I always think that kind of sucks because then are we going to get as many of like the Octopath Traveler or Triangle Strategy kind of games? Because I'm not so sure that Sony's going to care so much about having those kind of games.
Yeah, As a Nintendo fan, you say no. Hopefully not, because Nintendo and Sony don't get it wrong. So who knows what might happen in the future. But as
Sony gets along with any other platform holder, if we're completely honest, they are the ones that are the stingiest about this whole competition thing.
I'm hoping to wake up tomorrow and then read Nintendo buys Square Enix under Sony.
But here's the thing. I would get excited, but then I'd also go, but this isn't really any better than Sony buying it. It's just now the games are going to a different platform. These third-party multi-platform companies, I don't really like when they get bought out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think more people getting to play the games is always better. The platforms are going to have their exclusives. You're going to have your Marios here, your Halos here, your Uncharted's there, and that's fine. But literally buying out something that's always been multi-platform, like Microsoft just did. Now, it's a little strange. I don't think that happens if Activision Blizzard didn't screw things up themselves. So to be clear, it feels like a different situation because there's no way a company worth that kind of money is sold like that unless they didn't feel there was any other way out. And now, actually, funnily enough, there's some lawsuits happening over that against Bobby Kotick, who, guess what? Some of the investors in Activision Blizzard realized, he's using this as a cop-out so he never gets in trouble and gets a huge payday. It's like the investors realized, it's not that we're mad about the sale, but why is Bobby just going to get away with everything that caused us to have to sell our stock? This doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. We are being punished for a CEO that's going to walk away with billions. This doesn't make sense to us. So we'll let the investors, deal with that. By the way, it probably won't affect the sale of the actual company. Could affect all the pensions and all the money that Bobby's supposed to get at the end of it. I don't know. I think a lot of these investors are pissed and going to make sure he doesn't see a fucking dime. But he's already rich. That's the thing. He's already super rich. So his lifestyle is not really going to change unless he goes to jail.
I'm also kind of wondering if going forward, some of these big companies now are going to be slipping in some colossal failure clauses in their the CEO contracts, where if you cause this company to completely collapse, you get nothing.
So Jose Bell puts on there it can affect the sales. Actually, it can't. The sale's already been approved. The only thing that can stop it now is the FTC.
Or one of the companies just saying, well...
So unless the FTC looks at these lawsuits and goes, wait a second. But the FTC is not... they don't get to determine. All the FTC... The only thing they can do to stop it is determine that it creates a monopoly. And I think there's going to be a very hard time. There's 3 key people at the FTC trying to prove it. But there's also 12 others that look like they don't have a problem with it. So it's probably going to pass. But the 3 people trying to prove it basically just don't want it to go through because they think it gives Microsoft too much power. The problem is that it gives Microsoft power in a market that they actually don't have that much power in. And they'd have to prove that it's somehow a monopoly in a market when Switch is the number 1 seller and PlayStation has more subscribers. And they got to somehow prove that this unbalances the market, and it kind of doesn't. And that's why I don't think the FTC is going to be able to stop it even if they wanted to, because I think the burden of proof isn't going to exist. Now, the lawsuits against Bobby are a totally separate thing. Those are the investors being like, we already approved of the sale because it was a 98% approval rate from the investors. So they've already approved the sale. They're just saying, hey, it's fine. We'll sell our stock, but we aren't comfortable that Bobby just got away with everything. Because we don't feel like we would have sold our stock if Bobby would have been held accountable and didn't let this stuff happen in the first place. It's basically a sour grapes. It's a, fine, we'll sell, but we don't think that Bobby should basically get all the compensation he's about to get. Because that was under the old agreement before the sale. So there's a whole lot of legality with it. Bobby's going to be in court for the next how many ever years. The thing is, he's also the super rich, and unless they can nail him for like, which the statute of limitations have already gone past on when he hit his secretary or whatever. So and she got paid off and isn't suing anyway. So at the end of the day, unless they can prove that he is the one that said or did these things at the company, it just happened under him, he's probably serving no jail time. The most they could do is take some money from him.
Fine him, yeah.
But that's a whole separate topic. Sony buying Square Enix. What do you think, Eric?
Won't surprise me. I mean, it would suck just because of the few games that we get from them.
It's very few. I went and looked at the Square Enix releases. It's just classic games, and then Octopath Traveler, Triangle Strategy, a little bit of Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remake that sucked.
Oh, God.
But, like, we're kind of getting the scraps.
Yeah.
You know, we're not getting the big ones. We haven't gotten the big ones in a long time.
Great. So, in that retrospect, I mean, I'm pretty sure that the Octopath / Project Triangle Strategy was probably supposed to be some sort of trilogy, would be my guess. Just taking a wild stab in the dark. But, so if
Well, Triangle
Sony
Strategy is technically a new IP. It's not actually related to Octopath.
No?
Nope.
Oh.
I know. You're not wrong. A lot of people assumed it was because, look at the 2D HD, look at the art style. They have clarified many times, and they don't even play the same. One is a classic turn-based RPG. The other is more like Fire Emblem. Fair
enough.
Fire Emblem is kind of a bad comparison. It's God, I can't remember. There's another popular in it. Anyways, but it's not the same technically.
Right. But I don't know. So it's I mean, you're not going to get another. I don't think they're going to stop selling those games if they bought them.
Well, no, they're already released. They're not going to be like, it's Yankum.
Yeah.
Like, no, they already came out.
Well, I don't know. It is Sony. You never freaking know.
I think they'll leave them.
But yeah, no, good luck getting any games from them again.
Yeah, Jose Val brings up a good point, too. Like, the last state of play from them was pretty much the Square Enix show. Which it totally was. I live streamed it to you guys. It was non-stop Square Enix all the time. I mean, that could have been the first big tell that, hey, you know what? They've been negotiating this for quite some time. And this sell-off could be related. Like that, I think that's also what helps this story at the moment is they just sold off IP that maybe Sony wasn't interested in. Like, maybe they don't want Tomb Raider because they have Uncharted that's more popular. You know, they don't want Deus Ex because it hasn't been able to sell for a long time. They don't care about Thief because Thief hasn't been relevant. Thief hasn't been relevant since the 90s, basically. So, like, they just go, whatever, we don't want these studios. What we care about is Final Fantasy. What we care about are the other big Square, like Dragon Quest. Like, we care about the big guns. We don't care about, this stuff on the side that we already have IPs that fill that.
Or just the internal competition.
They don't care. Well, internal competition isn't always, like, Nintendo's got 1 billion platformers.
Yeah.
Internal competition is not always bad. I think it's
but it might be.
Here's the sales of Uncharted. Here's the sales of Tomb Raider. Uncharted outsells it 4-1. We're not going to invest the same amount of money because it costs just as much to make both. You know what? We want to cut that and just focus on this. So then just sell off the things that we already have IPs that sell way more. Like if you ever look at like Nintendo, why don't we have another game that competes with Zelda? Because they can't really get anything out the door that sells as well as Zelda does. So they just don't view it as worthwhile. Unfortunately. They used to, way back in the days, in the NES days, but then Zelda just outsold it all. So they said, we'll just make it Zelda. It's kind of like, why don't we get like standalone sports games? Because they still have Mario on it, it sells more.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? We got Oceanhorn.
Oceanhorn, there it is.
Horn is.
Do you remember golf back in the day? Technically, it wasn't Mario on the cover.
Yeah, right.
Sure as hell looks like Mario. Technically not Mario. Conveniently just looks like it, and conveniently the game is owned by Nintendo. So conveniently, I think it was obvious what they were trying to do. But golf.
I think it's bad when any major company buys an independent studio. Now that I'm kind of thinking it over, you know what? It is kind of bad when for example, if this Sony thing with Square Enix goes through, it'll be bad just because of course it's understandable that Sony is watching out for Sony. They're watching out for their shareholders. They're watching out for their market.
Their bottom line, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just if I have a business, I'm watching out over my business, So I understand that part, but for the gaming community is a minus just because we get to see less games. I think if we could put Square Enix in the hands of a Sega, then that will be a flourishing thing for all.
I don't think I can control or has enough money.
Yeah. And I mean, as in how well they work with everybody.
Sure, yeah. No, I hear you.
For a developer company that works that has good partnerships with Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo, we need somebody like that to step up and from just take that rug underneath the feet of Sony and just do something with these IPs, because I love the Final Fantasy series. I grew up on it. I played all of them except for the latest ones, which is they kind of wandered off. But Chronos Trigger, Chronos Cross, all these IPs are really good. And I think that a good developer company, not just a major company that's just gonna have them, it's like having way too many owners, way too many bosses in one company. You can't really be faithful to one. You have to kind of try to, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So all these companies know. Okay, what I'm trying to say is that when you own way too many studios, you can't really give your 100% to all the studios. You can't really produce the best game. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I feel like we should empower these independent studios to kind of grow into bigger studios instead of having.
That's what's interesting. It's like Square Enix is big already, like relative to a lot of other places. Like Bungie that sold. I could argue Square Enix is bigger than them. They got like Bungie used to only make games for Xbox, and then it was owned by Activision, and now it's owned by Sony. And it's like, okay, Bungie's used to being owned by people, and they really only ever have one active game. Yeah. And Square Enix kind of established that we self-publish. We don't need other people's money. We're good. We have a big thing, but we will take money if they want to offer, but we don't need it. And so Square Enix is big, and yet they consider selling potentially here. And I don't know to what end. I mean, I know that like Japan's studio for Sony has been dwindling down. So maybe they look at this as a replacement for their Japanese game studios. I don't know. I always view these acquisitions as, I think it's overall negative for the overall consumer base of video games. Doesn't mean it's not beneficial for some. If you're a Sony person, all you care about is PlayStation, all you do is play on PlayStation, you get excited for some odd reason. You still have to buy the games. You were already getting. It's like you were already getting the games. Yeah, so there's not really a benefit specifically to you other than maybe if the games are made only for this platform, they might be better. Okay, that is a benefit of developing for one piece of hardware. But guess what? They're still bringing them to PC. So at the end of the day, you were already getting them. The only people that would benefit from a purchase like that would be a console that doesn't get it. So if Nintendo bought all Square Enix, suddenly we're getting all the new Final Fantasy games. That would be a benefit to Nintendo gamers because we don't get them anyways. But because we don't get them anyways is exactly why they wouldn't go buy that company, because that company wouldn't be interested in developing their games for this. They would say, screw it, we can go take the same money or less from someone else, but develop on hardware where we think, where we want to be. So I just think that in general, companies should only be bought if they want to be bought and if they need to be. I mean, there's a scary thing right now because Platinum Games, after being so vehemently against getting purchased, put out there publicly that they're now considering getting acquired. And it's like, well, what made you change your mind? Mm-hmm. Who came to you with stupid money?
Right.
And you're like, oh, actually, because I don't think it was Nintendo. I think it's Microsoft, but they just can't say anything until the Activision Blizzard thing's done. And that scares people because what did Nintendo say? We don't care about acquiring people unless someone messes with our partners. Well, Platinum's been a pretty big partner for them. So I wonder if they'd be like, wait a second. Okay, Microsoft, you're going to buy them out. Can we get in on that contract so we still get games? And Microsoft might be more willing to work. Well, I don't know. I know people always talk about, Microsoft and Nintendo are buddy-buddy. What are the examples you got? Oh, Cuphead, Ori, made by independent studios that Microsoft doesn't own.
Minecraft.
Well, Minecraft was on everything before they bought it, so
right.
I'm not gonna. That's like their. I don't even know if Microsoft even considers Minecraft as part of their plans for anything. That's just you run on your own, release on everything. We milk you for every penny.
I was playing
It's kind of like
Minecraft
Fortnite at this point.
before.
Like if they bought Epic Games out, which they wouldn't, but if they bought Epic Games out, oh yeah, let's just yank Fortnite from. No, you're gonna leave Fortnite on everything and milk the cash cow. You're not gonna end the cash cow. But it's kind of one of those that I could see. Where some people might presume, that Microsoft and Nintendo will make it work. But honestly, look at the Microsoft Nintendo thing. It's been one-sided. Nintendo's given them nothing. Literally nothing. Microsoft's gotten nothing from Nintendo. It's been all Xbox allowing their exclusives on Switch. But it's only been indie games. And Phil Spencer talked about that, actually. He talked about this in an interview like last year. He said, hey, you know why Cuphead and Ori are on there? We don't own the studios, and the studios asked us if they could do it, and we said sure. Mm-hmm. Guess what? Nothing they own is going to end up appearing on Switch, and hasn't yet. So it's kind of, they own some publishing rights. They don't own the studio, and the studio wanted to do it. So what are you going to do? Be a dick? Yeah.
Good.
Nope. It's Cuphead and Ori. People aren't buying Xbox to play Cuphead and Ori. I'm sorry. I love Cuphead. It's amazing. I love the Ori franchise. It's amazing. They are not system sellers. They're just not.
Yeah.
They're great games, though. This isn't me insulting them. I have yet to see indie games be the primary reason that a system sells. And that sucks. Because indie games are amazing. Mm-hmm. But for every amazing indie game you find here, you'll find another amazing game somewhere else. People don't feel like they need to own a specific platform to play indie games because they're everywhere. Mm-hmm. So, all right. I hope that Square Enix doesn't sell. We don't know what's going to happen. We're in a world where these sales are going to keep happening and keep happening and keep happening. Speaking of the sale, this is kind of an aside because there's been a story running for a while about a certain investor group trying to buy out Ubisoft. The Guillemot family is actually trying to get a separate investor group involved to prevent a hostile takeover. Basically, the Guillemot family is never going to sell their stock. It's just not going to happen. They do not want... They founded the company. They don't want to get rid of the company. But they don't technically have controlling shares. Because it's been public for too long and too many shares have been bought. Their percentage own is only like 30% now. And you only need 51% to buy out. So they're trying to get a partner company to buy out enough that it would prevent them from ever being taken over.
Basically 21%.
Yeah, to prevent them from ever being taken over. Yeah. And it's a deal that just got announced today that these talks have been going on because they're afraid that another Vivendi is going to try to come in and basically steal the company. So we'll see what happens. So that's a prime example of a company that they absolutely do not want to be bought. However, that's what happens when you're an openly traded company. It don't really matter if the CEO doesn't want it to be bought because it's all about who owns the most 51% of the stock. They control the company. Yep. So,
or the majority of the stock.
Yeah. Well, because they can clear out the whole board and put everyone on that they want.
Oh no, for sure.
So, even if the other 49% never sell, it doesn't matter. You don't have any say because your vote's overridden by everything they do. That's just what happens when you want 51%. It's stupid. It only takes 51%, but
well, I mean,
it's controlling stake.
It's a majority.
Stake. Yep. Your vote is worth more than everybody else's combined. So anyways, that's just a thing I want to throw out there that Yves Guillemot is actually already working to make sure his company doesn't get bought. Some people think it should be because of all the controversy they've had. But the only thing I can say to their defense is, hey, whether you like Yves or not, I don't know, but his family did found the company. It's been the family company since the beginning. So there is something to consider about a family who founded the company, even if I hate some of the crap that's gone on there. It's kind of like the Yamuchis. It was probably very hard when they decided to let Iwata run the company, because it's always been the Yamuchi company. They founded Nintendo. They still own the controlling majority of Nintendo. Mm-hmm. So it was probably very difficult when they decided, hey, we don't think we're the best or should be running it anymore. Let's let somebody else do it. But they still have controlling stakes, so they basically still control who runs Nintendo anyways. And who knows? We might not have seen the last of Yamuchis running Nintendo. They could come back around and end up being CEOs in the future grandkids or whatever. If that's the path they want to take. Moving on to our next topic. This one is, I don't know this one that we need to spend a ton of time on, but basically Nikkei has leaked out Nintendo's projections for the current fiscal year, which runs now until March of 2023. So 23 million is basically what they sold last fiscal year, and the fiscal year before that, 2020, 2021, they sold about 28 million. So they lost about 20% in sales year over year, and now they're saying that the projection in sales this year is at 20 million, which is a 10% decrease year over year. And the reasoning Nikkei puts out there is supply constraints, which have been an issue all 3 years, to be honest. But what you are noticing is that, hey, 28 mil, 23 mil, 20 mil, and by the way, the original projections were like 26 million for last fiscal year. Nintendo had to readjust and go lower twice. So if the first projection for this fiscal year is 20 mil, maybe it's going to be more like 18, 17, because hey, they undershot, what they wanted to do before. This makes you. And by the way, this is still a stupid amount of consoles sold. Oh, stupid amount. These are peak years for most systems. But it does kind of make it look like, despite the killer lineup this year, we're on the downturn now. Switch has peaked, and we're coming down the mountain. What do you guys think? Man, that's what it looks like. I mean, facts are what they are. Yeah, pandemic and everything, but I don't know that we're seeing 28 million in a year again. And we might be done with 20 mil. That could be in the past, depending. Well, so what do you guys say? Like, there's a killer lineup this year. And stock very well might be a problem because of that lineup. But I don't know. I mean, the trajectory is what the trajectory is. I mean, the facts are what the facts are. It kept going up, massive peak, and now it's coming down. So what's next? What's Nintendo going to do?
Go for it, Mike.
I'm loving it.
You're loving it? That they're coming on the way down?
As a Nintendo fan, it's
hard to think. Like,
yeah,
year 6. We're in year 6 right now.
Yeah, it's so many consoles for the year that we're in. We forget that we are in year 6. You know what I mean? New
generations have usually started by now.
Yeah, selling this many consoles this long, the only thing that can push it back up is basically a new update to the Switch.
Yeah.
Switch 4K or whatever.
More powerful hardware.
Exactly, yeah. But it's just normal. It's a normal trend at the end of every console life. You know what I mean? It has to go down in order for Nintendo to kind of open their eyes and say, okay, let's bring the new. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I love the lineup. I don't think it's going to affect the lineup at all. If anything, they can always be cross-gen. Like just like Breath of the Wild was, and I think that hopefully Breath of the Wild 2 could be too. So I just feel that Nintendo's not losing a dime there. They're making the money that they're making, and as it goes down, they're getting ready to bring that back up with the next gen console. And to me, that's all it means. It means, okay, it's coming to an end of the life cycle of its life cycle, and it's time for something new, and then just bring up the new,
Yeah, it's hard for me to say that for sure this is the end of the life cycle. If there was actual full-on supply, what's to say it wouldn't have hit the 26 million? It wouldn't have hit the 23 million this year. It wouldn't have hit, it may still be coming down, but it's not going to be coming down as fast as what, it currently is. What is the demand still? I mean, there's still a possible massive demand out there for a Switch, but you're just not getting it, type of thing. So it's very well possible that there could be 23 mil for demand this year, but because they can only put out 20 million, that's what they're going to sell. It may not be the 28 at the peak, and we may be on the downturn, but it's hard for me to definitively say that, yes, this is the end of the life cycle because of the fact that there is so much shortage on being able to make it and things like that.
Outside of Japan, where there's been nonstop sellouts, I just vaguely pay attention to stock levels locally and online and stuff, and our big giveaway event coming up. So like, do I need to buy one now?
Nate, I gotta say this, Nate. You and me are on the same on the same train of thought. Because right now, I know you're doing a search over there, and I'm doing the same search over here. Go ahead.
Well, what I'm pointing out is like right now, Amazon.com, I can buy a Switch OLED, Switch Lite. And
that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at.
And a regular Switch, a red box version Switch for $300 right now.
Exactly. Yeah, $249.
Last time I was at Walmart, they had Switch Lites. They even had the red box Switch, which I haven't seen in 2 years.
Yes.
Basically, in a store, anyways. I've seen Switch Lites and obviously Switch OLEDs. Have not seen a red box Switch in 2 years in the store. Now I'm seeing it in the store. And there was tons of Switch OLEDs. Like the shipment they got, it must have been like 50 consoles. And I sat there. And I'm like, I don't know this system's as supply constrained. Like, okay, those systems are probably still going to sell out eventually, but I don't think every one of those units was going to sell before the next shipment came. And it makes me think, like, I've seen it readily available to buy at Best Buy, Target, Walmart.com, Amazon. Like, I've seen that it's actually not really been that hard to buy a Switch at MSRP. And that doesn't mean that there aren't like specific days of the week that maybe it's a little more difficult, but that's nothing like it was when it was like months at a time you couldn't find one for MSRP unless you were there the day the shipment arrived, on the minute, on the hour. People, we get those PS5 stock updates. That was happening for Switch. It's not really happening anymore because it's readily able to be purchased.
Part of it though too is that people may have stopped looking in stores because they couldn't find it, and now that it's starting to come back, maybe people will start looking back into stores again and start buying them back out.
I don't think so. Because PlayStation 5,
I'm just playing devil's advocate here too.
I understand the devil's advocate point. Switch is we're in the 6th year. Oh no, there's 106,
don't get me wrong,
probably 110 million.
I definitely want an upgrade. Don't get me wrong. I definitely want one.
What I'm saying is, we're in year 6. At some point, the supply just catches up to the demand because the demand goes down. The demand is not nearly as high, I think, today as it was in 2020 when everyone was stuck at home and Animal Crossing came out.
Exactly.
Like, I just factually think there's less demand. I don't think Nintendo's making less units. There just isn't as many people that want one because they already bought one the last 2 years. I really don't think... Like, you think about it. Nintendo has never had their peak year happen in year 4. And yet, that's what happened. Why? Pandemic, Animal Crossing. And then guess what? Their next best-selling year. The exact following year right after. Except that year, they sell a little bit less.
Yeah.
And now we're in their third best-selling year, or at least what's projected to be. And again, they're projected to sell a little bit less. Why? Well, look at every other peak year of any Nintendo system ever. It peaks at the massive demand, and then demand slowly diminishes.
And let me tell you this: I was just at Target this past weekend. They had about 25 Switch OLEDs. They had Switches, the red one. They had Animal Crossing Switches. They had every single Switch Lite in every color in stock. You can actually go to Target.com, well, at least in my local area, and choose whatever Switch Lite you want. Choose whether you want a Switch OLED or Switch Lite, or even the Animal Crossing Edition one. And so I can see.
And this is after Switch Sports came out, a major release, just dropped. Still can readily buy Switches. Like, I find this to be an interesting thing to think about because I honestly think we are on the downswing, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with being on the downswing. The question the only reason this comes up is, one, obviously some people don't want the generation to end, which is that's fine. I get it. A lot of you guys just got Switches the last 3 years. Of course you don't want it to end. And by the way, there's so many games coming. I don't know what you're worried about.
Yeah.
Literally all the way up through Breath of the Wild 2 in spring of next year. We know there's games coming. So for the immediate next year, you're gonna have so much to play. Don't worry about it. You're fine. Even if Breath of the Wild, even if it goes cross-gen, you still can play it on the Switch you have right now. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting because the current president has stated a couple of times, I don't want to fall off a cliff. I don't want to fall off a cliff. I don't want to fall off a cliff. I want to avoid the cliff. Well, you don't avoid the cliff if you keep waiting as the sales keep going down and down and down. Like, at what point do you go, the sales are now too low, we need to get something else out there. I don't know what point that is. I don't think 20 million, by the way, is that point. I do not think they need to release a next generation Switch next March or April because, oh my God, we just sold 20 million Switches and now our projections are 16 million that we need to release one now. Like, but if their projections are 16, does that mean the following holiday 2023 they want to drop something? Because then that might take it, we project to sell 16 million of this because we also project 10 million more of this next thing, but we can't tell you about yet.
There you go. Yep.
And part of my argument was too that I think that some of these are artificially pushed lower just because of the fact of the shortage. I think some of these years may have been a little bit more in sales. These last year, this year type of thing may have been a little bit more if there was a little bit more demand. I'm not saying that we're not in a downturn at all, but it may have been, it may not have been as sharp of a drop off. Oh my God, this cliff is coming type of.
Or I always go like this. Or let's say there was enough Switches to meet demand this entire time. There was never a shortage. Okay, so let's say it sells 30 million plus in 2020. It still would have sold less the following year and less the year after because people would have had a hard time getting it. So yeah, maybe it would have sold more than 28 million in 2020. Maybe it would have sold more than 23 million this last fiscal year. And maybe it would sell 22, 23 this year. But it still would be trending down.
For sure. Absolutely. I agree.
There's always a peak.
I just feel like right now this cliff feels artificially...
Like what was Wii's peak? 2008?
I think this cliff feels artificially more steep than what it actually probably would have been.
But is it really that steep?
No, it's not. It's not
It's a handful of million a year.
Steeper than what it probably would have been.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at prior peaks and falls, this is actually a much more gradual one than Nintendo's used to. And I think some of that is because they haven't been able to make enough, so demand has stayed high. Because usually what happens when you have enough to meet demand is that the demand really, really peaks hard. Like Wii peaks super, super hard, and then there's like a 10, 15 million drop off the next year. Nintendo hasn't seen that happen. It's been a gradual. Like they haven't even gone below 20 million yet officially. I just think it's one of those things where I keep thinking about what the president said, and I go, okay, he doesn't want there to be a cliff. Okay, well, technically this isn't a cliff because cliffs are you peak and you fall. Okay, we're not technically cliffing, but how far do you let it fall before it's time to reinvigorate the market? Because Nintendo, unfortunately, in their past, has a long history of we milk it until nobody wants one.
Yeah.
And then we release a new product.
Yeah,
but the problem is by then nobody's thinking about your products anymore, and then you bring something else out hoping, now you care. After you've had a year and a half to care about other things, now you want to come back to Nintendo, right? And that's like been what Nintendo's always done. And this is just, by the way, we don't know what this president's going to do, but I always viewed his comments as we don't want to do that.
Right.
We don't want to make our company basically not matter and then decide to release a product.
Yeah.
But that's why I keep saying, like, by the way, I don't think a new Switch is launching for Breath of the Wild 2. I've been on record saying that many, many times. I've talked about how it could happen, especially, hey, you know what? Maybe Nintendo is going to do the thing that I don't think they're going to do anymore. Maybe a Switch Pro is a real thing, and we got another 4 years on this gen. That's only happening with the Switch Pro, everyone. So if you don't think next-gen Switch is coming until 2026, 2027, then you also must be admitting a Switch Pro is coming. You can't say there's not a Switch Pro coming, but then a next-gen Switch is also 4 years away. That's not how this works. The Switch you want to talk about a cliff? Well, we're going to hit like 16 million, and then the following year is going to be 5. Like, they have to have something in there. They didn't just give us the Switch OLED out of the kindness of their heart. There was a projection internally. They needed something out there to help spike the market again. And that was just last year. You can't think, they're going to wait 4 years. Like, no. So if you think, by the way, I'm totally fine if you know that Nintendo's next gen is anytime soon. It's not coming in the next 2 years. That's fine. Just please then be smart about it and just be self-aware that Nintendo has to have at least a mid-gen upgrade then land.
Yeah.
One of two is happening. We're getting a mid-gen upgrade or we're getting next gen in the next 2 years. I don't know which one it's going to be, but one of them's coming.
Yeah, I think Nintendo. I completely agree with what you're stating. I think that's the way for the owner to avoid the cliff. He basically eliminates the bottom level Nintendo Switch, the red box, altogether. Take the OLED model, make it the base model. Keep the light, and then bring in the updated version. That way you have a brand new lineup of updated Switches. You know what I mean? The OLED was just released last year. They could do a little upgrade on the Switch Lite. I'm pretty sure that they could do that. And
Sure,
like,
a little
like
OLED light or something.
a little refresh, and then bring in the more powerful hardware, and where developers can actually they could do what they can. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's also part of me that goes, I can't believe that there was all this smoke and developers don't actually have dev kits for something.
Yeah,
there was just too much smoke. There's something out there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and even if they did, I mean, imagine if they talked about it, they'll lose it in a heartbeat.
Well, yeah, I mean, but Zynga denied. What's Zynga supposed to go? Oh yeah, we leaked this ourselves.
Yeah,
yep,
we're under
it's
NDA,
real.
but we
it's
leaked
real.
It's totally real.
Let's break our contract and have Nintendo nuke all our dev units. Thanks.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you have a contract with Nintendo, Nate, and for some reason you have a next gen Switch back there. You're testing it. You're having
somebody like glanced at it on a camera in an off corner, and they're like, "Oh!" And I'm like, "Oh shit, I fucked up." Someone wasn't supposed to. And I'm like, "Hey, do you have any comment? Someone named your company as someone developing for the next gen Switch." Dude, there's no next gen Switch. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, what else am I supposed to say? Yeah. There's a next gen Switch coming, and now I'm sued. Thanks.
Yeah, right.
Dude, you having the privilege of having the next gen Switch right back there. Will you talk about it? Or would you lose it? Lose that privilege? I don't think so.
It would depend.
Yeah,
it would depend. I say that it would depend because of two things.
Money talks.
Because money talks, obviously, but there's I'm not a game developer, so the only reason that I would have one is if they want feedback. And my thing is, let's say I do have one. I'm like a play tester, and I'm play testing hardware. Hey, we want you to test out current Switch games. Let us know your thoughts, feedback, whatever. And that's cool. And there's part of me that would go, yeah, that's awesome. Of course, I would keep it under wraps and just let Nintendo know. And I'll talk about my experiences later when the NDA is up, and I can talk about it. And I can even show it maybe. Like, dev kits sometimes get out there, and we see them, and maybe I can talk about it someday. But there's also that part of you that goes, look, Nintendo doesn't actually sue anyone that usually does it. They just cut you off. Nintendo already doesn't send me games. So Nintendo's almost irrelevant to what I do in terms of a company. I'm just the general public, and I just happen to have an audience. I developed this audience without Nintendo giving me anything. So there's also that thing that because I'm a YouTuber, how much bigger could I get if I start talking about something that nobody else is going to talk about? And is my growth worth potentially never getting anything again from Nintendo? Because if I was the lucky few chosen and it goes well, maybe I get chosen for other future hardware. So is it worth the potential growth that isn't even guaranteed to be the source with the device to show you on camera? Actually, I probably couldn't put it on camera. It'd probably be strike down by Nintendo. But whatever. I would leak pictures out on 4chan so then I can report on the pictures. That's how you do it.
Right.
That's how you do it. And I can be like, well, now that this leaked out, I can confirm this is real. I have one. It's right here.
From a public library that's like in the Twin Cities that there's no way they could trace it back to you.
Well, yeah, but it'd be all about what do I think the potential gain is for me versus... And people might go, what about morality? That's fine. I understand morals. I also go like this. Hey, Nintendo ain't paying me shit. I got to worry about my bottom line. I got to take care of my kids. If I can make my channel blow up and do this for a living, it's fucking sweet.
Also, show me a game company that has perfect morals too.
Well, yeah. I mean, let's not act like Nintendo's perfect. In fact, we're going to get into that in a moment. But I probably wouldn't actually say anything if I did have access. It's just one of those... I'm not going to be the kind of person that gets the access anyways. Nintendo won't even send me a review copy of a game. So you think they're going to trust me with hardware. But as a hypothetical situation, it would be kind of cool. And it could potentially leak if I just left it sitting on a table and didn't realize it and I'm live streaming because whatever, it's in my studio. I'm not really thinking about it.
Also, in their defense, though, too, how many times on your channel have you said, I do not review games?
Well, I have reviewed games. I don't have the time to review games, which is why I don't really do it anymore. But I used to review games.
Yeah, well, I know you did.
But yeah, it's all...
I mean, if they were actually watching your content...
Nintendo would never trust me with the thing anyways. I drink on live stream, and that's the ultimate risk of me saying something, is I'm drinking. Oh, Nintendo Academy just bought me that $10 Yag Bomb.
Somebody
oh, no.
just donated
Oh,
$1,000.
Oh, crap. I just leaked it out. Yeah. I just leaked it out. Oh, shit. Wait a second. You're leaking out detail? This is what's going to happen. My next live stream, Mike's going to come on and be like, just so you guys know, he's leaking details on the next Switch for every shot he does. Yeah. Just buy the beer shots. You can do those all night.
Somebody comes in with $1,000 donation and just all of a sudden it's like, yep, here it is. Just right up on screen.
Well, then I better have a 3D printed fake next generation Switch somewhere
right.
that I can at least pretend.
$1,000 donation here. I'll just mail it to you. Where do you live?
right.
Oh shit. Anyways, let's get to our final topic, and this one's a bit of a long one. Because obviously there's been stories and reports out there for a long time that not everything is so hunky-dory at Nintendo of America. Reggie Fils-Aimé recently asked about it in several different interviews and basically said, this is not the Nintendo I know, and that's pretty much kind of washed his hands of it, even though some of these accusations definitely existed from his time at Nintendo. So you can say whatever you want about Reggie saying, maybe he's washing his hands of it because he hasn't been there in a few years, or maybe he just legitimately was never aware of it and you want to believe everything he says. I don't know Reggie. I don't have to protect Reggie's character. Reggie is who he is. If he wants to act like he didn't know anything, that's fine, and then that can also make you think the accusations are false. But yesterday, a massive article came out on IGN, and I'm just going to read this article, and then we're going to discuss, because there's a lot of things, and the article is quite lengthy, but I feel like I was trying to pick out bits of it, and then I realized the accusations here are so serious, we need to not pick out bits. We need the full context. I will link this article in the chat if anyone wants to read along. But let's just get into this, because this is some of the biggest accusations I can remember Nintendo facing in their time, and this article provides names. So like people are like putting their name behind this. And with over a decade experience at Nintendo. So Nintendo knows who this person is and will never hire them again. I can tell you that.
So if you hear anything that rhymes with Mike Perez, then it's not me. So
inside the growing discontent behind Nintendo's fun facade.
Yep.
All right.
IGN. And the writer is Kat Bailey.
Yep.
Just to give her credit on that.
Yep. So in 2010, Nintendo of America opened its brand new headquarters in Redmond, Washington on a 10-acre plot owned by a company since the early 1980s. The late Satoru Iwata cut the ribbon at the state-of-the-art facility alongside Washington State Governor Chris Gregor on a gleaming 300,000 square foot facility with cushioned benches shaped like D-pads and a Mario Kart-themed parking garage. It was everything a Nintendo fan could imagine. So this is all the fluff pieces back when they opened up everything. Right down to the main boardroom being known as the Master Sword. And this is all stuff that a lot of us fans know about because we've dreamed of visiting Nintendo HQ all the time. Across the way, past a soccer pitch of the sort of one often seen on the West Coast tech campuses. Yeah, a lot of campuses have them. I think Apple has one. Or is this soccer? Is this a soccer pitch they have? I remember looking at their pictures of their facility. They got something crazy going on there. Anyways, is a much older building that isn't nearly as well known. A former warehouse that houses a hodgepodge of departments ranging from data science to product testing and development. It in some ways harkens back to the days when Nintendo of America was simply an arcade distributor operating out of New Jersey. That is a fact, actually. That's what Nintendo used to do. The warehouse doors are still visible, and the freight elevator near the greeting desk will sometimes get stuck open and make loud, grinding noises. While Nintendo has spruced up the decoration with some Mario-themed diagrams, it's otherwise a nondescript work area with an atmosphere akin to a library. In contrast to the ultra-modern facilities nearby, many of the workers are toiling away on outdated equipment and software, with software that looks like it's running on Windows XP and a database that dates back to the 90s. Until just a few years ago, it was still possible to find bins of old VHS tapes filled with bug records in the PTD area. Secrecy, constant software crashes, and the ever-present need for the translation of messages from the Japanese headquarters frequently slows work to a crawl. A large percentage of workers inhabiting the building are contractors, many of whom increasingly see themselves as second-class citizens with no hope of earning one of the coveted red badges that can grant them unfettered access to the building just across the way, or even just the soccer pitch itself, which is also off-limits. That building doesn't just represent more comfort, it stands for job security, career progression, and even a basic professional respect that many contractors don't feel in their day-to-day life at the company. The contrast between the two buildings reflects the difference in how Nintendo likes to present itself, a technological imaginarium that puts smiles on people's faces, and the less glamorous reality. Outside of carefully controlled marketing moments, Nintendo of America has rarely afforded a glimpse of what it's actually like to work for one of the most famous video game companies in the real world. But recent reports of former employees, and especially contractors, are finally opening up, and their stories reveal that Nintendo can be very different from its cheery marketing. So the red badges and the blue badgers. On the face of it, Nintendo of America isn't so different from other Seattle area tech companies like Microsoft, which surrounds it on all sides. Yeah, Nintendo's like smack dab in the middle of all Microsoft buildings. It's kind of funny. But to be fair, Microsoft built a lot of those buildings around Nintendo. But anyways, for full-time employees at least, Nintendo of America offers plenty of amenities. What are you doing? What are you doing, Mike? What is happening right now? You know, they can't see your hair if that's what you're trying to show off.
There you go.
Trying to show off blonde Mike over here?
There you go. There
Anyways,
you go. That's better.
I don't know what the hell Mike is doing. Anyways, its headquarters are being environmentally friendly, founded in 1980 by Minoru Arakawa, son-in-law of Hiroshi Yamauchi. NOA is at the heart of a very large marketing department. Probably its greatest achievement is the Nintendo Power magazine, which convinced hundreds of thousands of kids to buy what amounted to advertisements for Nintendo games. Nintendo of America started as something of a shoestring operation. It was exemplified by employees Jesus, like Howard Phillips, who joined Nintendo of America at 24 and was soon responsible for the largest shipping volume in the port of Seattle. He went on to serve as a tester, market research analyst, and magazine editor. In the process of developing into something like a mascot for Nintendo thanks to his familiar bow tie. At least some of the DNA still remains in Nintendo of America's culture when full-time employees praise Nintendo. As an example, Kit and Krista, who recently left Nintendo, spent a lot of time praising their time there. They were full-time employees. Full-time employees praise Nintendo. They usually talk about how much they like their coworkers and how it offers an enviable job security compared to the typically volatile game industry. But Nintendo is also a very old and traditional company that can make it seem restrictive, old-fashioned, and demanding. Adding to that is Nintendo company NCL's influence over the company, which has been described in conversations over the years with sources familiar with Nintendo's inner workings as frequently distant and heavy-handed. Talking about what it was like to work at NOA, one former contractor describes the culture in the departments as stilted and oddly formal, with employees apologizing profusely if they left for even 15 minutes early. At first, I attribute it to being a Japanese company, and the expectation. At first, I attribute it to being a Japanese company, and the expectation. At first, I attribute it to being a Japanese company, and the expectation. At first, you bastard. Am I going to mute you? I do have a button that can mute. Sorry, he's putting it on a repeat over there. He's having a lot of fun with his fancy buttons and controls over there. Anyways, Mike likes to do that. He's a bit of a tease. I'm just waiting for the picture to come back up with the blonde hair. For those listening to the audio version, you're totally confused.
Yeah.
Anyways, talking about what it was like to work at Nintendo America. One former contractor describes the culture in the department as... Oh, yeah.
Something's wrong with the audio because I can't hear you guys anymore.
You can't hear us?
Hello?
You can't hear us.
Hello?
Testing! Nothing happened on our end.
Oh, boy.
Hi, Mike. Mike broke his computer. He can't hear us, so now I can say all the things I've always wanted to say.
I see waving. Is this the end of the podcast? Because I can't hear you guys.
No.
You guys hear this?
Yes, we hear... I can hear
Hello.
you. Hey,
Is that better?
is that better? Can you hear us? I will double check on our end, but I don't think anything changed on our
1,
end.
2.
Oh, is that better?
He's messing on his
sounds.
end.
I keep
That's
hearing
'cause
sounds.
we can
but-
hear everything he's doing. Hold on.
Oh, boy.
I'll double check on our end, but I didn't do it.
Now, you know sign language?
No, we don't know silent. No.
I didn't do anything. Voice and sound.
Did Discord disconnect?
We're working.
Yeah.
This is not us.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all on him.
Your
I will
side.
talk about Discord, but it's all
Yeah.
on him. So nothing broke on our end. Discord's still reading our microphone, so.
1, 2. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
He can't hear us, so it doesn't matter.
1, 2, testing. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So Eric can hear me, right? But why can't I hear you guys?
Oh, we could try ending the call and restarting.
Plug. Man, plug.
Here.
He pulled his mic.
Pull
he
a
pulled
plug,
his
right?
headphones out.
Testing 1, 2.
He probably pulled his headphones out.
Yeah, he hit something somewhere. He's smiling. Can he hear us again?
Either that or it's all an act.
Right? Yeah, I swear if it's all an act. Mike likes funky French fries. That wears thongs
Super weird.
in the summertime.
Super weird.
You're right. What I said is super weird.
Yeah.
Super weird.
Okay.
Okay.
I guess end the call and
The only thing we can do is end and restart.
Yeah, well, yep. Just to restart it. Yep. And
And he's frozen.
hey.
Hey, at least he's still on screen.
Yeah, right.
Now let me actually go restart.
Yeah, right. Go restart the call. A little behind the scenes here, by the way.
Yep.
Oh, hey, look. It's your monitor background.
Audio from the actual live stream.
Look, hey, it's your monitor background.
Audio from the actual live stream.
Look, hey, it's your monitor background.
He can't hear us.
Mike, can you hear us?
No audio coming in from Discord.
No audio coming in from Discord. We just,
Oh, that's on him then.
yeah. That's got to be on you, Mike.
He can't hear us.
I know.
You saying that doesn't help him.
He can hear the YouTube live stream.
Well, I'm going to tell him I'm going to keep going with the story while he figures it out.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to keep reading the story while you figure it out.
Should we and then we
Let's
start
get
the
back
call?
to the actual show.
We did.
Let's just keep
He
it going.
just asked if we wanted to end and restart the call.
Yeah, he has no idea. We already did it. All right. Anyways. All right. So continuing the story, they talk about the bureaucracy involved.
I'm going to keep reading the story while you figure it out.
Yes, you didn't have to say that out loud. You
Tell him we already restarted the call.
Yeah. Yep.
It wouldn't be a podcast if something didn't go wrong.
This time it's not us.
I know.
That's the thing. It
But
wasn't
still-
us.
Still, it's always something.
All right.
We already restarted the tee-hee.
Oh my.
The tee-hee. The tee-hee.
Tee-hee call.
What's the tee-hee?
Oh my god. Did we have to kick him off the podcast now?
Unmute Discord.
Our Discord isn't muted.
No,
We're
I
fine.
know. That's why everybody can hear
Yeah. The only thing I can think of is we kick him off and we just go to the Nate and Eric show.
it.
Technical difficulties.
I mean, yeah.
He's smiling over there. I swear he can hear what we're saying. He's just bullshitting with us. Anyways, going on. This is him saying, I got bored with the story. I wanted to interrupt everything.
Yeah.
They talk about the bureaucracy involved with being a contractor at Nintendo of America, describing how they would have to account for virtually every minute of their day. It was like Homer with the bird. You want me to physically call you?
No.
You want me to dial?
He
and-
can hear us.
Hi. How's it
Yes.
going, Mike?
No.
Yes. No. He's doing.
No.
What is
No.
happening?
No. In sign language.
I don't have your number. I don't have your number.
I understand yes and no.
So how,
I understand that.
All right. I think we're gonna go to the Nate and Eric show for a moment. He's like, "What is going on?"
Does headphones die?
I have no idea.
Jesus. Oh boy. How about now? Can you hear us?
We're gonna do that. We
Oh, boy.
Sorry. Technical difficulties. We're not gonna sit here and wait for the next hour while we go. We're just gonna. It's now the Nate and Eric show. Sorry, Mike.
Just message him saying, "Hey, let us know when you get your stuff figured out."
Yeah. So it was like the Homer with the bird, except I couldn't have any problems at the nuclear plant. You couldn't really even go to the bathroom. Yeah, you guys remember the Homer with the bird thing when he was working at the nuclear plant and he wanted to like go to sleep and leave, and so like the bird was like going like this to keep hitting the button so the computer wouldn't go idle. Except it was a nuclear plant, so that's not exactly good. Hey, you know what I like in this more too? Like Nintendo, if they're being so mean about this, kind of like where people were like during this whole pandemic, oh, I got to stay active in the chat for school and the meeting, so I got to have like a fan that rotates and moves the mouse to make sure we don't go idle.
Yeah, right.
So basically, Nintendo was being really draconian about not going to the bathroom, and basically about every second of your day is basically what this is accounting to is. Every second of your day at this particular part of their facility, they had to know what you were doing at all times, and bathroom breaks alone would just nope, you can't. Better pull it off in 30 seconds. Which I mean, if they put a porta potty below my desk, I guess I could just keep going, but I don't think that was provided.
Yeah, probably not.
So at Nintendo of America, many employees are paranoid about posting on social media lest they be reprimanded or even fired. Translators are a constant feature of life, obviously. Taking time off can be frowned upon and viewed as putting more of a burden on your teammates, so they guilt trip you into not taking time off. Sick days include having to fervently apologize and promise to be in touch. In contrast, the sometimes overbearing positivity employees constantly talking about how lucky they are to be at Nintendo, especially in areas like the marketing and localization departments. Nintendo Treehouse. They feel fortunate to have that job. Nintendo Treehouse employees like their job, but these aren't Treehouse employees. It was to the point that I was very surprised to see threads criticizing Nintendo because I didn't think there were that many people who would be willing to talk about it. And then they go into a thread here. We're going to skip over to the thread. I want to focus on the new information here, not stuff that we've covered before. Right now, the mood is really tense, says a longtime contractor with Nintendo who declined to be named. Worst case scenario, because Nintendo of America is a marketing company, and any article like the one Kotaku put out is marketing. And you really worry that Japan is going to see this and say, okay, what are you going to do about it? IGN's own reporting corroborates those stories, the harshest of them mostly coming from contractors in areas like customer support and testing. These would be the people that work at that facility, obviously. Speaking with a dozen current and former full-time employees and contractors at Nintendo of America across several departments, the picture that emerges is of a company that has steadily become more heavy-handed and restrictive despite the ongoing success of Switch, particularly in matters like the recent closure of the Redwood City office in California. Nintendo was contacted for comment on these reports. They didn't say anything by the time of reporting. It has made the perceived reluctance to hire new full-time employees a flashpoint within Nintendo of America. Despite the career site currently listing more than 100 jobs, the perception is that there's no path for contractors to become full-time employees. So there's no way to work your way up the chain if you're a contractor. And as we're about to find out, that wasn't always the case at Nintendo. And there's a particular time period where this changed. And this is why it's kind of weird that Reggie... This is where we get into... Really, Reggie, you didn't know? Because this changed while you were there. Which, by the way... I don't know how many levels at Nintendo there are. This is one of those things where people below him might have never let him know, and he probably rarely was ever in this building. So there is that.
Possible.
I don't know that Reggie ever really ever went over to that building. He probably stayed exclusively in the new digs. Where his office is. Anyways, Nintendo is very big and complicated and secretive company, and that's kind of what causes the problems as a current contractor. Each contractor starts with the hope that they'll become a regular employee, and very, very few people do. Changing times at Nintendo's. All right, so most employees IGN spoke with agree that Nintendo of America's culture started to shift around 2015. It was a particular tumultuous period in Nintendo's history due to the struggles of the Wii U and the sudden death of Satoru Iwata. It was a sharp contrast to the opening of the new Nintendo of America headquarters just 5 years before, when the company was still enjoying the double success of DS and Wii, two of the biggest bets in Nintendo history. Jen, so this is where someone actually names herself, Jen, a former contractor, was at Nintendo for 10 years, remembers both of those eras. Speaking with IGN over Zoom, she talks about how there were many more opportunities to become full-time employees at Nintendo of America when she first started, even for support specialists. When I was there, contractors actually had a path to employment. This is in 2009. You could be a phone rep and an NOA red badger. And I started aiming for that, and I aimed pretty high, trying to get as many cases as possible. So working her ass off to earn full-time employment status. Business was booming because in 2009, obviously because of the Wii and DS. In December alone, Nintendo sold some 3 million Wii consoles. Fueled by a price cut earlier that year, Nintendo's big bet on motion controls in the blue ocean had paid off. Okay, so basically Nintendo was super successful. Scrolling on down, 3DS was super successful as well. Or wait, no, 3DS wasn't at launch. The 3DS, this is when some of the downturn kind of started. 3DS was released in 2011 and immediately stalled, burdened with the lack of compelling launch lineup and the rise of smartphones and a $249.99 price point. Nintendo was forced to move aggressively, slashing the system's price and rolling out special benefits. Obviously, a year later, Nintendo released the Wii U, which did even worse. Despite the downturn, no one at Nintendo of America worried too much about layoffs. Nintendo was not that kind of company. In fact, Iwata famously took a 50% pay cut following the 3DS's sluggish launch, along with board members also taking smaller pay decreases. And then Jen goes on to say, I know that some employers publicize their restructuring plan to improve their financial performance by letting a number of their employees go. But at Nintendo, employees make valuable contributions in their respective fields. So I believe that laying off a group of employees will not help strengthen... Oh, sorry, this is a quote from Iwata back in 2013. Iwata's words were lauded with the gaming community, but Nintendo of America was compensating in other ways. So basically, Iwata was saying one thing publicly, but Nintendo of America was doing something very different. When I first got there, they were trying to get rid of people. You could tell because they wanted people to retire. They were getting a lot of benefits, so they could just get new people in. They kind of gave up on that. Now they're just terrified to hire people, says the current contractor. So basically, Nintendo, when they got there around the time of the Wii U and 3DS failing, basically said, hey, they were trying to push long-time people that had benefits out the door so they could hire new people that they're paying less with less benefits. And then, they just got afraid to hire people, which if you look at Nintendo's hiring page, they regularly have 100 plus jobs available. And they don't ever seem to get filled. That's a really strange thing to note to maybe back up the story. Jen, who rejoined the company after an extended break in 2015, echoed these sentiments. Just before I came back, I actually got a call from my manager who said, listen, we want you back. But she was like, things have changed. Things have changed a lot, and you need to know we're evolving into a new kind of call center. And I was kind of worried about that because when I worked there was a very family-friendly atmosphere. So her previous experience at Nintendo was very positive before 2015. And it was a lot of fun, and some of the managers are some of her personal friends to this day. What she discovered was that the opportunities to gain full-time employment had largely dried up, and that she herself was taking on more and more responsibility. Meanwhile, she says, Nintendo of America continued to dangle the possibility of finally earning an elusive red badge. So basically motivating you by dangling the possibility of rising up the ranks while not actually giving you the opportunity to rise up the ranks. So towards the end, I was managing a team of 13 people. So imagine this. You're a contract employee, and you're managing 13 people, and you still can't get a red badge. You're so trusted that you're managing people.
That's insane.
And you can't move up the ranks and get benefits. Okay, so this person was managing 13 people during a product launch, acting as a chat lead, publishing knowledge-based articles on Wi-Fi, not just for the Wii, but Wii U and Switch. And I was doing forum moderation and was a forum lead at that point and had written documentation still used at that time. On top of that, I was still expected to take chats and take calls as if she was just a normal customer service representative. So she was still expected to perform the duties she was initially hired for while also performing all her managerial duties, despite the fact that she never actually became a full-time employee. And I was looking around wondering, why am I not a red badge? Why am I not officially promoted? Why am I doing all this work for basically the same pay with no promotion? So more expected of her, more responsibility put on her plate, dangling the fact that she might be able to become a full-time Nintendo of America employee someday, but never really afforded the opportunity. Just expected to do more work. And this happens at a lot of companies, by the way. Nintendo is not alone in this. So to clarify, what we're basically hearing is that Nintendo operates like every other for-profit business in the world, basically. It's just they didn't always be this way. And that's the shocking part is The reason we didn't hear about this, a decade ago, it didn't exist a decade ago. Wasn't a problem a decade ago. It is now. So Nintendo's public nadir was in 2016, a year that saw its earnings plunge a dizzying 60%. So they were doing really bad. One source estimates the demand for localized writers and editors has nearly doubled over the last 3 years, as Nintendo has forged its way into areas like the mobile space, but they have reportedly been no full-time hires within Nintendo's localization team in that period. So they need more people localizing than ever, and they've made 0 full-time hires relying on part-time contractors. This is according to someone within Nintendo right now. In the last 3 years, 0 full-time translators have been hired when demands at an all-time high inside the company. Nintendo's rely more and more on contractors known internally as associates. So that's the official term. They don't call you a contractor, they call you an associate. Who make up nearly half of the English localization team. Holy shit. Half of their localization team are just temporary contractors that can't even enter the building, the main headquarter building. They can't even enter. They can't enter. They can't even use the soccer pitch.
Yeah.
For breaks and cooldown.
Yeah.
What? Half the localization team is just temporary contractors? Wow. I didn't realize it was that bad. It's put a strain on not just contractors, but on full-time employees as well, with associates required to take a 2-month break between 11-month contracts, of course, to prevent you from being a fucking full-time employee. Mm-hmm. You're forced to take 2 months off, otherwise you are a full-time employee. Mm-hmm. It's a legal thing. They have to force you off. Which, of course, you don't necessarily get paid. You don't have benefits. You have nothing. You basically don't have a job for 2 months.
Mm. Right.
You don't have a job. You don't have benefits. You're not a full-time employee. You don't get money. You don't get paid until you're working, except you can't work because if they have you work, you become a full-time employee and they have to give you benefits. Man. Another hidden cost of relying on contractors is a higher rate of turnover, obviously. Now, it is just 4.7%, which is a lower turnover than a lot of other tech companies at 13%. So they do have a lower turnover rate than most companies. But at least people who spoke at IGN know at least one person who had been around since the NES era. So basically, they have some people there that have been there for decades and decades and decades, which speaks to, hey, low turnover rate. People work there. They get comfortable. They don't want to leave.
Yeah.
By comparison, but again, this is talking about the people who work at the big headquarters.
Right.
So some Treehouse employees, been there for decades. Bill Trinan, been there forever. Mm-hmm. But by comparison, contractors are far more likely to leave after less than a year with the company. Oof. Leaving full-time employees that have to start from scratch and train. So basically, they're stuck having to retrain, which frustrates full-time employees. Meanwhile, contract employees have to do more and more. Basically, it doesn't sound like a well-managed part of the company at this time. At this point in time, it feels like that part of the company is being a little bit mismanaged. It's not being most efficiently used, I guess would be the way that I would. Like, here's the thing. Because the article goes on, and we could be reading this article for the next 5 hours. Mm-hmm. What I basically got, because this is the second time I read through the article, the general gist of it is this. Nintendo's a for-profit company, and a lot of people complaining agreed to the terms of their contract, and their contract's not really being violated. So they can't inherently complain about the contract itself and Nintendo not fulfilling what they have promised inside the contract. Mm-hmm. However, what appears to have happened is that back under Iwata, primarily under Iwata, things were different. You could actually get promoted to full-time. Mm-hmm. A majority of the staff doing localization were full-time employees, not part-time contractors. And there was advancement opportunities. Like, you might hit the end of your 11-month term of contract where they got to force you off, and they might decide, hey, actually, we want to bring you on full-time. You did really great work. We want you to keep working here. Here's your red badge. Welcome to the big building. Mm-hmm. And that's amazing. That's self-promotion within. Like, as much as people want to give shit to McDonald's, almost all the store managers started off as cashiers in high school. Self-promotion. Mm-hmm. Walmart does the same. A lot of these businesses have realized there's a lot of value in just it's sticking loyal to the people who started here.
It's not even that. It costs more to retrain a new employee than it does to retain one.
Yeah.
So, I think Mike may have figured out his stuff.
Did he for sure, though?
I don't know. But That's up to you.
telling me
That's up to you
before.
one more time if we want to try it one more
Mike.
time. But
See if Mike wants to come in. Let's see if I can make it work. Let's see if we can make it work for the end of the podcast.
yep,
For the end of the show, Mike. We'll try. We'll give one more try.
one more. We'll give it the final college try. Oh, hey.
Hey, it's just me. Hi.
Hey.
Hey,
Can you hear us now?
I see a wild
Yes.
Hey, there we go. Hooray.
a wild
us now?
light appeared.
Yes. Perfect. So, for sure you can hear us now?
Yep.
Okay.
All good.
Weird.
Did you at least listen to the show while you were figuring it out?
I did. Yes, okay. I was listening.
So, as I was saying, now that Mike's back, welcome back, Mike. What was the problem, by the way? If you
I don't know.
You don't
No
have no
clue.
idea. It just started working.
Nice.
Yeah, no clue. I
Discord
think
kept
it was.
saying that we were fine. So,
I think it was a Rodecaster. I just went ahead and rebooted it and turned it back on.
dude, have you tried to turn it on and off?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's what I did. Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how we fixed a lot of problems. Hey,
Or-
guess for
or-
once, the technical issues weren't us.
Hey.
Or hit it with something,
yeah, or hit it with something for sure.
So basically, what's happened is Nintendo isn't failing to fulfill their contracts and breaking laws or anything. It sounds
Except
like
for if they are actually not allowing for bathroom breaks and or breaks within.
Notably, though, the story didn't say you can't take a bathroom break. It's just that there's like a pressure not to.
Yeah.
That you might get scolded for being gone from your desk for too long. Like, oh, you might think you were only in the bathroom for 2 minutes, but Nintendo clocked you at 10. Like keeping what company keeps that strict a track?
Right.
Well, a company worried about budgets, I suppose.
Oh, yeah.
But like, I don't know. Like, obviously, these are just stories, and Nintendo hasn't commented, so we don't really know the other side of the coin. So you always got to be careful with accusations when you don't have both sides of the story. Which, by the way, accusations as companies, you rarely get both sides of the story because the company ain't going to say shit.
Oh, the company's just going to...
Company ain't going to say shit
If
unless it goes to a lawsuit, and then you hear about it in a court case.
If it does, it's just going to be...
Which, by the way,
it wasn't us.
There is a lawsuit against Nintendo over it right now, so maybe we will hear about it once those documents get unsealed from the court someday. Right now, it's just an investigation. Yes, Nintendo is actively being investigated over some of these allegations, especially by unions right now, because apparently someone was denied the ability to attempt to unionize, which does break some American laws. Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean that he would have been successful at unionizing, but that's not really what the argument is. So that's not here. We talked about that before in a prior episode, but this new stuff article is basically just framing that Nintendo used to be different, and then Wii U and 3DS happened, and it's kind of like everything just changed. Mm-hmm. It's like, hey, we don't have the money anymore, but we still want to be what we used to be, but we're not. So, yeah. Like, the fact that there wasn't, like, a new full-time hire in the last 3 years to the localization team is insane to me.
Yeah, right.
Is this due to a change in upper management?
Well, so that's a fair point to bring up, right? Like, when Reggie was asked about it, I was like, hey, I haven't been there for a few years. Okay, but they said this shifted in 2015. You were there in 2015. You were there through Switch's launch, and this was starting before Switch. Like, this changed during the Wii U and 3DS era, which, no matter what Reggie wants to say, these accusations are coming from when he was at Nintendo. So I know, Reggie, love you, buddy. You're trying to wash your hands of it because everybody loves you. But the bottom line is, Reggie, I wish these interviewers would push you more, because these accusations are very clearly during your time at Nintendo of America. When Doug Bowser took over, this stuff was already happening. Mm-hmm. Basically.
So when did Reggie leave?
Was that 2018?
So 3 years after.
Or was it 2019? One of the two. Reggie retired from Nintendo. When was that? That was 2019.
Okay, so it's like 4 years after the change. So basically, he was there for 4 years since the change happened. He was there as a
Yeah. When it started shifting about 2015. Massive. Like, there were other things that were like hints at it back in 2011, but really the culture was totally shifted in 2015 and on.
Okay. Yeah, because I know I've worked for a company companies like that. As a contractor, and as a contractor, you basically have no rights. You have a contract signed in front of you that states you're going to be working with this, with for this amount of time, you get this amount of breaks and you get this amount of time for lunch, and then the rest of the time you're due, at your work location. So basically, you got 2 15-minutes as long as you get by law 2 15-minute breaks in an hour. Then every other hour, it's the company's hour. You know what I mean?
Yep, including bathroom breaks.
Yeah, exactly, including bathroom breaks. So you have literally 2 hours in 8 hours.
Go somehow in between.
Yeah. So
time.
Yeah, and it also
humane, but the law is what the law is. There's nothing really protecting. That's why people want to unionize so much usually.
And Wada was there when Reggie was there, correct?
Iwata, well, yeah. Reggie was hired after Iwata.
Yeah, because some companies, what they do is that when they're getting ready to change within a couple of years, 3 or 4 years, I've seen companies, what they do is that within the company, let's say Reggie stays as the current president, and
Doug Walter was trained for years.
Yeah, so basically, yeah. So the change could have taken effect when Iwata started at the training, or started basically the non-official position in the company, and that's when the until he became official. So you could argue that Reggie was there, but he really wasn't really running things because he was on his way out while somebody was coming up.
Yeah,
and
you don't see him publicly as a PR figure rather than actually being active inside Nintendo. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
That happens. I still, again, would argue you still had the role of president, and it still happened under your watch. And if you were the one training.
So either
what sounds interesting is that
somebody dropped the ball somewhere.
What sounds interesting is in this article, it kind of infers that when Iwata passed away, this is when it all just huge shift. Which there were some signs of it before he passed away, but it just got significantly worse after. Which makes you wonder, because what we've learned, Reggie put a book out, and of course this book is just from his perspective. So again, you still have to take everything he says in that book with a grain of salt, because none of it's really verified. It's just that he said this happened, so this is what happened. Oh, I said that I wanted to launch the 3DS at $199, but Nintendo of Japan, Nintendo of Japan's going to come up publicly and say, no, he's wrong. I mean, the person he was debating with was Iwata, who's dead. They're not going to come out and say anything. They're going to let it be. But you got to be careful when you read Reggie's book, because it's just one side of the story. And what I find interesting in this, and again, this isn't me hating on Reggie. I love the guy, man. Love Reggie. I have no reason to personally dislike him. But I look at a lot of the stuff he says in there, and what I see, a common theme, assuming a lot of this is true, is Reggie earned Iwata's trust. So a lot of the ways that Nintendo of America ran, and a lot of the things that happened, was because there was a trust between Reggie and Iwata that really began with Wii. Because if it's true that Wii Sports was only packed in because Reggie pushed Iwata to do it, that you need to pack this game in. This will sell the system. You need to pack it in. And he's like, no. And then Reggie thought he was going to lose his job. He thought he was about to have a meeting and lose his job, and instead he was offered the position of president, because Iwata liked that hey, this guy stood up to me and told me that I'm wrong. I had time to think about it.
And it turned out to be a good idea.
This is before it was even successful. Iwata had time to think about it, and this is all according to Reggie, obviously. Had time to think about it and came back to him like, no, thank you for standing up to me. You were right. We're going to pack this in. You want to be president of Nintendo of America?
Thanks.
What? Wait, what is that? Wait, I thought I'm getting fired. Okay, well, and the thing is, that obviously started, and obviously the fact that we absolutely dominated, and it was clearly the best decision Nintendo of America ever made to pack the game in. It became one of those things where I feel like there was a huge trust between those two, and because of it, a shift began when he died, because guess what? The people controlling Nintendo don't have that same relationship with Reggie anymore. And so they want more control over Nintendo of America. They want to be more draconian. They want it to run more like they do in Japan. And by the way, folks, you're not going to hear complaints out of Japan because they just run differently. But a lot of people in America would view the way the Japanese businesses run their business to be very bad, very inhumane, which you will never hear that complaint coming from Japanese workers because their culture is just different. They believe your life is about work. We believe Well, America really does push the work thing a lot too, to be completely honest. It's really not that much different here.
Yeah, no.
I mean, we want it to be different. We're kind of the cross between Europe and Japan. Japan believes your life should be built around work. Family's almost second. A lot of European nations believe work is just a small part of who you are. You should have more free time and be able to enjoy your life and your family. And in America, we believe you should just try to do both. And somehow find the time to do both, which doesn't actually exist. You can't just...
There is no time.
You just can't create more time. But like America tries to cross both the work culture and the family culture at the same time, and it doesn't really work out for the most part. And this is where we have a lot of these conundrums in our country. We're like, hey, the contract is what it is, and you agreed to it. So like, why are you complaining about it? But at the same time, the contract was the same contract before, but things were a little different because you could advance. You didn't have to stay a temporary employee for more than a year or two. And you can get a chance to actually move up in the company where you would get the more freedoms. You could take the bathroom breaks without fear of losing your job. And that appears to have changed very quickly after Iwata passed away, at least based on these accusations. Which, again, there are accusations that predate Iwata dying, but it seemed to be like really, really close to his death. And the thing to remember about maybe even those days, because Iwata was battling that cancer for years. So... You know, there could have been some slippage maybe a little bit in how he was managing everything at that time. But the bottom line is it does seem to have changed then, around that time, and Reggie was still there. But it's possible Reggie lost some power. Just to be fair to Reggie, he might not have been able to do as much as he once wanted to, and Doug Bowser might be able to do even less. Like, part of me also wonders, like, you look at Reggie, since he retired, he's been a busy man.
He is, yeah.
Traveling the world, speaking again. I don't know that he wanted to retire. And part of me wonders if it was Nintendo of Japan, new management, new way of doing things, we want you to kind of go away. But the problem is you're too big of a figurehead for us to just say you're fired. So instead, can we just like gracefully retire you as you bring in this guy named Doug Bowser? Oh, the people are going to love a guy with the name Doug Bowser. Conveniently, the guy replaces him has a name that connects with Nintendo.
Oh, yeah.
And by the way, this isn't me insulting Doug Bowser. I don't know anything about the guy.
Right.
But it definitely seems to me, and this is just from the outside looking in, I'm just a gamer reading the stories, reading Reggie's book, and going, you know what? This really seems like I have this theory that Reggie was just pushed out the door because he represented the old era of Iwata. And Reggie had a lot of power under Iwata. Reggie was even part of the board in Japan. Like, he rose very high up the ladder. Then when Iwata died, suddenly he lost his board position. Why would that change? Why would Iwata's... New management. Don't like the way
Iwata had a lot of power.
Well, Iwata had a ton of power.
Respecting
Iwata made his name synonymous with Nintendo.
Right.
For good or for bad, he made his name synonymous. I mean, his approval ratings were slowly going down at the investors' meetings, but they were still well above him ever being replaced.
Which then had the respect of the Nintendo of Japan. But
and plus, Iwata had Miyamoto in his corner and other figureheads that like, hey, Iwata came up with Nintendo. Iwata is Nintendo. We are not going to go against him. Oh, he's gone now. Well, now
we can do what we want.
Oh, Miyamoto, you have something to say? Miyamoto, you should go work on the Mario movie. Don't worry about it. And I'm not saying, basically, like, if people think Miyamoto should step in, it's like Miyamoto, he's practically retired, guys.
Yeah, we see less of him now with this new...
They use him for marketing.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's at the investors' meetings. He's still a big... He still has a say. But I think Miyamoto at this point is more disconnected from everything going on at Nintendo than he's ever been. And that's for a reason. I mean, the guy's past retirement age. It's just, I don't know that he'll ever actually retire. But I'm this all to say, Nintendo's just a greedy company like all the rest. And I don't know why this is surprising people. Like, I read this story, I'm like, I don't feel sad. I don't feel like, bad Nintendo, we need to bend you over and spank you like you've been naughty and you need all these lawsuits and you need... Like, no, here's what I hear. Nintendo's like everybody else, and for a long time we thought they weren't because they weren't like everybody else. They factually just weren't like everybody else. And now they are. What is there to say?
Fix it.
But what is there to fix? They're just acting like everybody else. There's no incentive to fix it other than a story coming out. And people read this story, and I've seen some people that I don't know if you call them Nintendo fanboys, but people that are defending Nintendo. I've seen it in our own chat, and I just go, you're right. Nintendo's just acting like every other company. Mm-hmm. We've all dealt with it. We've all been contract employees at one point, or some of us have. We've all dealt with stuff like this. We know. But we wish that wasn't the way it was. We wish it just stayed the way it used to be, that you could advance. And so, like, even if you had a restrictive contract, there was a way out that led to you getting the cushy jobs that everyone loves so much at Nintendo. And it's just not happening. You know, you can even look at it as before any of these stories came out. Hey, what did Nintendo of America just do? They just consolidated. They just closed their California studio for no other reason than consolidation to save money. They just made a business move that was about nothing other than saving money. And they lost almost all the employees out there. Not because those employees weren't offered to keep working, but they knew. They knew when they closed, all those employees weren't going to uproot their lives and move away from their families to Washington, because it's a completely different state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, they weren't about to uproot their families and do that. So, like, they knew when they closed, those employees were going to be gone. And guess what? They didn't replace any of them. It was a cost-cutting move. And it's fine. I'm not angry that it happens. And what I was trying to say with Nintendo fans, they say, oh, you know, this isn't like Activision. You're right. This isn't sexual assault. Mm-hmm. This isn't sharing nude photos of someone that leads to suicide. You're right. There's levels to this. And yeah, Nintendo's not at the top, but they're just as greedy as everybody else. And I think what's happened is the facade is eroding away. And I ultimately think it's good the facade's eroding away, because the public should be aware that the company's just like every other company. Is it going to make me not buy Nintendo products? No. I'm not hearing they're torturing employees here. I'm not hearing that they're cracking them with a whip. I'm just hearing, hey, if you're a contract employee, it's all you're ever going to be.
And may end up with
and now I'm glad the stories are out. So now when new people get hired there's no way they're getting hired there without, when they research the job, finding these stories. So now they'll know when Nintendo dangles the red badge, don't even worry about the red badge. Don't take on more responsibility like Jen was doing to try to get the red badge. They're just dangling that. Just do what you were hired to do until you're ready to move on to something else. Because, hey, it is kind of cool. I'm sure you might say, why would people take the job, you know, if they know they're not going to stay there for a while? I bet you putting Nintendo on your resume will help you get hired in other tech areas. So, it's a good resume stuffer. It's a resume stuffer. So why not? Work there for 11 months, get your resume stuffed. Or you say you want to work there 2-3 years so it looks a little bit better on the resume, because usually when you fill out resumes, they want to see that you were there longer than a year. So you had a little dedication to the company. They don't want to be like, oh, you're just going to move on in a year if we hire you. Well, I mean, if you're hiring me in a call center, I mean, you shouldn't expect me to work longer than a year. Nobody likes call center jobs, by the way. I'm going to know right now. I don't know anybody that actually has said, man, I've worked at a call center for 10 years and I love it. It's the best thing ever.
I don't know. Some of the scammers seem to be living pretty well. That are working in some of those call centers.
That's because they're just trying to scam till they get a certain amount of money and then they're done. They never work again.
They seem to like the job.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Doggy brought up, says, do you believe it's inevitable to have disgruntled employees? Yeah. Yes. I think every company, no matter how beautiful it is to work at, like Google.
Oh, yeah.
They have an amazing reputation to work at Google, the way they treat their employees. But that's just what we hear. Do you think there's not a disgruntled employee out there that says something? Go look at some of the job review sites out there. There are some negative reviews from former employees. Favoritism and all of that. Like, it's inevitable that there's going to be some disgruntled employees, because guess what? Companies aren't ran by humans.
Also,
until all those YouTube ran by. Is Susan Wojcicki a human? I'm trying to figure that out. Yeah. I'm not sure. She's one of the first AI robots in existence.
Yeah. But you're also dealing with a ton of people too, and not everybody thinks the same way. Not everybody acts the same way.
People might get upset about things that you might view as like, I've seen people in the chat, man, this seems really stupid. They're complaining about. I mean, again, because to you this isn't a big deal.
But then again, put yourself.
But to others, but that's the thing. They might say, hey, I deal with worse conditions at my job. That's basically usually what it is. Sounds like capitalism. Sounds like America. I'm like, again. I don't think that this is like some super shady piece of shit move they're doing. It's just, at one point, this wasn't what they did, so it kind of sucks that it changed. It'd be different if this is just what they always did, and it's just kind of like, okay, so they're just like every other company then, all the time.
I don't
even know that we'd hear these stories if they were just like this all the time. I think we're only hearing it because it changed.
I think it's shitty. It's just bottom tier shitty.
Yeah.
And not like, what we've seen with some other.
Well, yeah, like I said, there's levels.
Yeah.
Like Activision Blizzard, that's some of the worst. That's some of the worst. Sharing nude photos of coworkers that leads to suicide. It doesn't really get much worse than that, other than murdering yourself. Like you're killing people.
Yeah.
Okay, it's just that's like the worst.
Right.
Ubisoft, sexual. I want to say assault, but at least it's more allegations of sexism. I guess we can put it harassment, that kind of stuff. More so than. Oh yeah, we have a Cosby suite going on. Like, dude, Activision, that's so insane. The more things that have come out about Activision Blizzard, the more insane. Like, it's like hard to even fathom that this stuff actually happened. Like, this is the kind of stuff we think about stereotypical gamer, except, holy shit, it's actually maybe not a stereotype at that company. Holy shit. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. But yeah, there are levels. So like, when you compare it to all the other controversies out there, yeah, this is like nothing. But I think it's important to have out there just so people know, hey, guess what? Nintendo is a greedy company like everybody else. They make business decisions like everybody else. They make cost-cutting measures like everybody else. And no, not every employee is happy to work at Nintendo. That's just the way it is. And I think for a long time they lived on the reputation with that Iwata seemed to ensure, heck, cut his own salary to try to ensure that everyone stays happy. We value our employees. And now Nintendo's even more for-profit than they've maybe been before. And hey, that's kind of the way it goes. Like, I have an iPhone. I'm well aware of how for-profit Apple is. Well aware that this phone that cost me like $1,100 is only like $300 to make. So the same profit margins. I'm not dumb. I'm well aware that Apple will get it from factories that might be using less shady measures to get these products to our front doors. Just like Nintendo is. Just like every tech company is. This is just making us aware. I think people just don't want to be aware.
Yeah.
I think the moral of the story here is find your passion, do it, and don't settle. Because a lot of these people, they were presented with a contract.
I love you, Mike.
They were presented with a contract. Okay, when the minute you see this contract is not directly working for Nintendo, don't sign it.
Well, you are. I think they dangle it. I bet you in the interview they go, "Hey, but you might." And what's their dream? No. I want to work at Nintendo of America.
If you do this,
it's a dangled dream. It's a dangled dream. They dangle the dream. I bet you.
Yeah, but if it's not in the contract that in a certain amount of time,
I agree. Yeah. The contract does not say you're going to move up, but they dangle it as, oh yeah, and then they'll point to, oh, you don't believe me? Let me bring in this person who got promoted 15 years ago.
Yeah, that should be red flag number one.
I bet you the person doing the interview themselves is someone that got promoted.
Yeah, I mean, I love that saying that the minute you find what you love, that's the day you stop working. You never work a day in your life.
Never work a day in your life. You find the thing you love. Yep.
And I'm telling you, people, if you're going to take something out of this, this last thing is find your passion, work hard for it. Don't quit. Don't settle. Keep working hard. You're going to get there. And that's it. Don't. Exactly. What we do here,
I love it. I don't know that I ever say it's not work, but that's because there's always things with any passion that you might not enjoy as much.
Yeah, I'd
rather do this than everything else I've ever done in my life.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's it. This is what we love to do, and this is basically not work for us. This is our passion. It's work. It's a lot. It's hard work.
Got to take it serious, and like me, I make a decent chunk of money. I got to be a little careful that I don't just now I make nothing. That'd be a bit of a shock to the system.
Yeah, there's no difference between there is no difference between a YouTuber and somebody who's building a business, because that's what we're doing. We're building a brand. We're building a business. We have to follow every single step that somebody who just went to business school to open a shop around the corner and promote their shop and build customers and get loyal people coming back and just that. A YouTuber is exactly that. This is our little storefront right here. This window that YouTube provides us is our storefront, and we have to work hard for it and build our community and attend to it. So, it's a passion. Yep. Just find your passion, and don't settle. That's it. That's all you got to do. Don't settle, because the minute you settle, you'll find yourself behind a telephone. And believe it or not, guess what? There are people out there who love call centers. they're extremely happy talking to people every day on the phone.
There's also people there's one person a friend I have who does actually like it, but that's because they worked up to where they can do it from home, make their own hours, do their own like okay, yeah, that's kind of nice. It's a work from home. You get to wear your pajamas to work. Cool.
That's good. Yeah. But again, that's it. Don't settle. Work hard and don't just settle for everything. Just work as hard as you can to get to where you want to be, and you'll never work a day in your life.
Like the people that make this spam bot, they must love making it.
You're right.
The spam bot.
But yeah, I mean that's the thing. And by the way,
there it is.
when this stuff is said, people always say you never work a day in your life. I will say this. It doesn't mean be stupid. As an example, so you got kids. I got kids. You can't just be like, oh man, I'm really passionate about painting. So I'm going to stop my entire life and focus on painting and pray that I don't get evicted. You're still going to sometimes need to do shit along the way you don't want to do.
Exactly. Yep.
You still got to get your income, take care of your family, take care of yourself. I mean, don't let yourself end up on the street because I'm just chasing my passion and going all in, and it's like, but I mean, you're gonna lose the ability to go all in if you don't take care of yourself. So that's why I always say, you never work it in. No, you're still gonna work because you're gonna have to do a lot of shit along the way before your passion becomes what you want it to be. It's just don't give up on the passion because you also have to do the other stuff. Like, say you want to work as a contract employee at Nintendo and pray that you might become part of Nintendo, but that's maybe you're passionate about, I don't know, journalism. Well, then go start up your fan site or go volunteer somewhere and write and do that on the side until it gets to a point that maybe you built up a reputation enough that maybe you can get a paying gig doing it someday. Like, still do your passion while having to do what you need to do to get by until maybe someday, if you're fortunate, your passion becomes, because not everyone's passion ever becomes, but maybe your passion will become what you want it to be. Something like Mike. You can't sit here and be like, I'm just going to do YouTube and this is how I'm going to survive. Like, not yet. Maybe someday.
It will.
Yeah, someday. But that's the thing. You work hard at your passion, but it's not necessarily like you don't work.
We have our day jobs. Like, we have our day jobs, and I have a bachelor's degree in digital media and design and marketing. Right.
Explains why you're so much better than me.
So I have a job in that.
I have a high school diploma.
In that field, it doesn't matter. like degrees don't matter nowadays at all. Like
how many degrees? I'm not using any of them.
And you might go back for another.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally everything I took in college.
Your passion, education.
They're giving it in high school and middle school right now. Every single class I took in college when I went to college.
I know.
Yeah, right.
They're teaching programming in middle school now, and I'm like,
really, dude? Like, really? You're making me pay $50,000 for school, and then, but it's my day job. My passion basically is media, entertainment, music. You know what I mean? So that's basically where I'm working towards right now. Doesn't mean that I make sure that if you do have your day job, work on your passion on the side.
Don't give up on your passion because you have to spend. Oh, I'm tired. Okay, fine, but find a time. Find the time. Because I think what happens is a lot of people give up on their passion. I see it all the time. People give up on it, and like I still have my kids. Like I have one of my kids wants to be a YouTuber, and I it's my daughter, and I told her it's fine. You can be a YouTuber, have your passion. Just make sure you're taking care of yourself along the way.
Yeah,
don't be like what a lot of kids think. I can have my dream and it's just going to happen. Like I'm in my mid 30s. I've been working at this since I was 12. I want to make this clear to you. This shit don't just happen overnight.
Yeah, even for kids who want to be YouTubers, you know what to tell them? Yeah, you know what? They got school for media, journalism, graphic design, film. Go there.
Yeah. Get experience in something that can help you with your passion, but also give you other windows to maybe do things in between.
Exactly. There you go. So, So, YouTuber, go from school.
Where I had all this journalism experience, and now I use none of it, and I make YouTube videos where I had no AV experience, no editing experience, no image work experience, no on-camera personality experience, no audio equipment experience, and now here I am 5 years later, and I
still have no experience.
Still have no experience. And some will have a following on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like, don't be like me. I'm completely self-taught on everything, which is the hardest and worst way to do it. Because I had no idea what I'm doing. Like, even now, people always like, why don't you do like more like cool TikTok videos too? Like, you can do everything on your phone. I'm like, when I open the TikTok app, I see a record button. How to go from hitting that button to some of the crazy shit I see on TikTok is so foreign to me. That's just not going to happen because I don't have a passion to learn how to do it.
Yeah.
My passion is the long form YouTube content, you know?
Yeah, and a lot of the stuff is not done on the phone. A lot of the stuff is done with that.
I know. They do it in editor and stuff. I've talked to a couple people who showed me a few things, and I'm like, that's cool. I don't know that I'm ever going to do any of that. Like, they'll record it on their phone because it gives them the right aspect ratio.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And phone cameras are great. So it's not like, you're literally making content for phones, so it makes sense to record it on a phone.
Have we hit the age of, that's too much work, I'm not going to do that? For some technology.
Well, a lot of some of the people I talked to on TikTok, some really big, like multi-million-dollar people, they said a lot of it just comes from have the idea and then have a smart person that can help you realize it.
I had a friend in TikTok. I made a friend on TikTok. He has over 2 million followers, and he wanted to help me start my TikTok Nintendo Academy, whatever. But I just didn't like it. You know what I mean?
Send them out.
It wasn't. It wasn't. I
want to find a way to deliver news quickly on TikTok and make it fun to watch. That's what I'm struggling with, is making it fun. They're like, but you're fun on YouTube. I'm like, yeah, but I got to make this fun in like a 30-second window.
Yeah, that's
informative, and I need help with maybe other people that know how to do that better than I do.
Yeah, it's not the same.
I'm too long-winded. Damn it.
Yeah, it's not the same.
Dance around.
Just dance. Oh yeah, let me do a TikTok dance. Well, hey, today on Nintendo, blah 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 blah. Hold on, let me floss quick. Is that even people don't even floss anymore. I don't even know what the new dance are now. Isn't it that chick whose hip went out and went
Yeah.
Thought that was the new thing. Is that old now? I think it was last week, so it's old now.
That's hilarious.
I still see things from the Island Boys come up, so I mean, some of this stuff lasts a while, I guess.
Yeah.
Not the Island Boys, though. Their popularity is woo. That's what happens when they don't really have a talent. Everyone's just laughing at them. Dude,
I don't know. There's plenty of celebrities out there that don't have talent and they're still celebrities.
Dude, there was a concert that they went to sing their Island Boys song at, and they basically had shit thrown at them and booed off the stage, even though they were hired to sit there and do it. And I'm like, how is this not clicking in their mind that everyone is just laughing at it and thought it was funny? The fact that you think it's serious and a real thing. How about the fact that nothing you've done since has mattered? Like, people, it's not funny. It's only funny the first time. Because I'm an island boy. Okay, now I'm in New York. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. You can't rap.
Bye.
Bye. You can't. I'm sorry. You just can't. Oh, it's just a new type of rap. It's an island type of rap. You're not even from an island.
Right.
Well, my parents. Okay, so your parents were raised on an island. How about you? I was raised in Florida. Okay, yeah. You're raised in America like the rest of us.
You were born in Connecticut. Shut up.
It'd be like me singing a song about how I'm from Canada. I think I visited Canada once in my life as a kid. Not since it required a passport. I'm like, no, now you're pretending to be a real country. I can't go anymore.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, boy.
Oh, the old South Park jokes. All right.
This podcast
got the flapping heads going and everything.
Oh, boy. This podcast gone sideways.
Canada, eh?
Yeah. I mean, we're close enough.
You know what's funny is you would think, like, when you make those jokes, it's so offensive, but, like, you do it in Canada and they'll just do it right back. They think it's hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
They own all the Canada jokes. They just don't even care. The people who live there. It's awesome. I wish every culture could be that way, where like people are doing this and like making fun of the culture because it's funny, and then they just embrace it and say, yeah, it is funny. Oh yeah, the flapping heads. Oh yeah, Terrence and Phillip doing the fart stuff. Oh, that's so Canadian. As if you Americans aren't farting up. I can't even go to a B-dubs down in your country without having to leave because I'm so gassed out. You're right. We do like to deuce it.
Yeah.
Deuce it at the places.
I'm telling you, in Puerto Rico, they have one show that it's all about making fun of every
all
single
the cultures. Yeah.
Not all the cultures, everything in Puerto Rico, teachers.
Yes.
Literally everything everything, literally government. I mean, it's hilarious, you know. So you go there, you go to school. Oh, look at those shoes. What, you know, like what are those? You know, all that stuff. People don't get offended. You know, just they keep going, they keep walking. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Is this just an American thing? To be offended?
It is. I can tell you, it is.
I haven't been to a lot of other countries, so like I always wonder, like this whole getting offended over are you stereotyping? You're white. You can't. I can't. What? I don't know. What's the problem? I don't understand what happened.
It is. I mean, if you go to
what just happened right now? All I did is say "No soup for you," which is a reference to a television show. Mm-hmm. Now maybe the television show might have been having a little fun with some culture stuff, but who cares?
Yeah. In the islands, I call the Caribbean, like between Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Cubans, anyone they hit on each other, they throw on each other, they joke about each other, they talk to each other, you know, and at the end they're all friends. You know what I mean? Yeah. So.
Well, and because
you're an island boy,
completely throw a stereotype out there, but aren't they all high anyways? They don't do shit.
Because I got
Oh, that's Jamaica, right? That's Jamaica. That's
Jamaica, man.
Yeah,
Jamaica, man.
Nobody gives a shit.
Hey, is Jamaica
the bobsled team?
Hold up. Is Jamaica near Puerto Rico?
I don't actually know where any of this. I'm going to the Bahamas for my first time coming up here on a cruise, but we're going to the touristy islands.
Yeah. Okay, dude, I don't know. I'm feeling so dumb right now. I need to look up a map.
Bahamas, Caribbean,
they're different islands.
They are very different.
But
Caribbean, Jamaica's not in the Caribbean.
No, I think it is in the Caribbean. It's just not.
It is.
There's the Western and Eastern, and there's like different sets of islands. I know because I had to choose for our cruise which set of islands we're going to go to.
What the heck is this?
Put it this way: if you take your fingers like this on a globe and go smack, everything's within there. Now that area is really massive, but everything's within there. Just because you can fit all of Europe and all of the U.S. within your circle you just made, somewhere in that circle.
Yeah, okay, I see it. I see it. All right, never mind. Dude, why did I ignore Jamaica all this time when I was in Puerto Rico?
I don't know.
There you go.
I went to
Puerto Ricans were just, you know, we're the Cubans and this and that. Oh yeah, Jamaicans. That's a foreign area. We don't even talk about that.
For real. In Puerto Rico, nothing that speaks any other language but Spanish exists. Okay, everything else is a gringo. You know?
Yeah.
So basically, is this, you know, Dominican Republic, Cuba, Haiti. And then to the south you have South America, so it's like, okay, that's the entire world, that's the entire globe right there.
All right, well, I think that's gonna call it a show today, guys. Sorry about the technical difficulties on Mike's end. It happens.
Yeah. Oh my god.
For the first time, it wasn't our problem.
Yeah, right.
It was Eric's fault.
Yeah, but I'll take it. I'll take it. It won't.
Damn it, Eric.
I'm always blamed for something, and one of my groups of friends here. So
it's okay. Around here, I'm the one that's always the problem. Yeah. Oh, the kids are being naughty. It's my fault. Yulia, I'm upset and agitated right now. It must be your fault. What? Go sleep on the couch. What did I do? I made you dinner. I cleaned the house. I have your pajamas ready. Everything's all good. I'm ready to rub your back. I got some massage oils. You can go massage yourself. Go sleep on the couch. What did I do? I don't know. Shit happened at work and it's your fault. Okay. Yep. All right. Everyone's my fault. Oh, Aiden's upset. You're the worst dad ever. I just said, do you want pepperoni or cheese pizza? How am I the worst dad? Because I didn't offer more toppings? I'm sorry. Those are the only ones you like. You want something else?
You have to try. You got to try. This isn't a plug. You have to try that spicy pepperoni pizza.
I have. I like it.
Good, man. So
the
good.
sauce.
Okay, I got to try it.
It's the sauce.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That sauce is good. I hope it does. I mean, it's going to go away eventually.
Tomorrow for lunch. I know what I'm doing.
It's good. Yeah. Tomorrow for lunch. There's still time.
I mean, yeah.
Technically, it's still time.
No.
It's still open. Anyways. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is the Untitled Prime Podcast, going off on a few little tangents, but that's all right. That's what we do around here. Longer episode, but that's cool. We'll get it back under control next time when we don't have technical difficulties. So maybe that was the problem. We went too long.
Yeah, Eric.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, Eric.
I talked way too much. I actually talked this episode, so that's why it went long.
God damn it. You added 20 minutes on,
right,
Eric.
Right?
God. You're supposed to be kicking my ass in the Super Bowl already.
Yeah,
Anyways.
right.
All right, guys. Catch you later. Episode 47, by the way, should be up on the Nintendo Prime Podcast channel tomorrow. I'm actually having it on editing right now. So, all right, guys. Peace out.